Welcome, James Bond fans. It's been a long time, and finally, here we are. Welcome to episode 0024 of A Review to a Kill, our Bondcast, reviewing the whole James Bond franchise, coming to you from fanboysanonymous.com. I am the author of All Your Pain, Tony Mango, and we know that the M stands for mango, not moron, but what does C stand for? Well, Callum Wiggins, that is.
We do have a tricky day ahead.
I was going to also go with, it could stand for cowboy. It's for a different podcast. And joining us, as always, as well, is our kite dancing in a hurricane, Robert DeFelice.
No. For this one, I'm actually rebranding. I'm just bringing back Knick-Knack. So, that's
just for the sake of it.
I'm Knick-Knack.
So let's get some plugs out of the way before we get started, just to remind everybody that not only are we going to be breaking down our thoughts on the film here, the film being Spectre, as you could tell by the branding and title and description and everything that goes along with this that would indicate why you're clicking on this, but we want to know what you have to say about it as well. So by all means, hit the follow buttons and the subscribe buttons and the comment buttons and do whatever you can to interact with us, whether it's on Twitter, on Facebook, or the best thing is the YouTube page and the video itself. While you're over there and you're dropping your comment and you're telling us what you think, then also, if you're not subscribed already, then do that. But also ring that little notification bell, get those email alerts of when these videos go up. Hit the like button. That'll help out quite a bit for the SEO. The share button is a way for you to pass this along to anybody else that you think might be interested in checking it out. We got the applause stuff. We got the join button for the members only content. And we've got the Patreon, patreon.com/fanboysanonymous. If you want to help support us, that is the best way to do it. Not only just $1 a month goes a long way, and it's also a real big morale boost, but there's also the Pick Your Poison tier. So we're coming to basically the end of this in a lot of ways, but we've gotten some people in the past that are like, oh, you should do a different type of thing after you get done with like the main series, and you should do this, you should do that. If you really want to make us, not make us, but you really want to, well, I guess technically make us, because it is Pick Your Poison, so you're telling us that you want to do it. But, if you want us to do the Casino Royale with Barry Nelson, or you want us to do Never Say Never Again, or whatever it might be, then Pick Your Poison tier is up there to make sure that it happens. So keep this going as long as you want and can. And just another way to do that is to keep the discussion going by dropping those comments. So tell us what you think. We are going to get things started here the way that we normally do with the title. Now, of course, the title is Spectre. And unfortunately, not a whole lot of other foreign language titles. Nothing really all that interesting that I had come across. Only two that I even bothered to write down, Hungary and Taiwan. Hungary was 007 Spectre, The Phantom Returns, which I just feel like is an unnecessary mouthful.
Is it a menace?
Maybe it's Darth Maul in this one. That would have been a better villain, I think. And then,
or the Phantom of the Opera.
The opera isn't Quantum of Solace, so they couldn't really do that.
It's not for everybody either.
Taiwan, though, has 007 The Devil is 4. And
what the answer was for?
The number 4.
Yeah.
So I really don't know why that's the title they went with.
This is the fourth Craig film.
Fourth Craig movie, yeah.
Yeah.
The Devil is 4.
Well, they revealed the devil in this one.
Imagine if they just had, for all the other films, it was just kind of like, instead of the man with the golden gun, it was just sort of like 007, Roger Moore's second, or something,
Well, didn't they legitimately do Nobody Does It Better 13 times?
Yeah, that was for the tagline, though. That, you can play around with a little bit more. That tagline for this one is, sometimes the dead don't stay dead. Which is like, that's not really great. That's somebody thinking that they can do a tagline, but they're really just kind of like, dead dies tomorrow.
That sounds like a really shitty tag for a horror movie.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the dead don't stay
dead.
Hellraiser 5 or something. Ding, 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 ding. That's Halloween, I know. Actually, I've never seen a Hellraiser movie. I have no interest.
You're not missing much.
That's the Pinhead one, right? Like the guy with the stuff.
Yeah, but once you get past
cushion.
the first two movies, basically, just goes all over the place. But that's pretty much the same very horror movie franchise.
It's the horror film where somebody this is so obscure. Somebody just goes, Where do you come from? In the trailer. I think it's
It sounds
Hellraiser.
way too
It's just
it
like
sounds way too generic.
I got a feeling it might be Hellraiser. It might be the Cube. I think that's a thing. I don't know. D'Onofrio.
Or the Cell or something like that.
Or the Cell. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I think that's it. Anyway.
That crappy Jennifer Lopez horror movie.
Yeah, because I think it's D'Onofrio. I think it's that one. And that's the only thing I know about that movie is that, if I'm correct, Vincent D'Onofrio's character just goes, "Where do you come from?" And it's like delivered really weird. No interest in doing a horror breakdown on, the full Halloween films or all the Freddy Krueger things or whatever. It's not my thing. Got to talk to my fiance for that.
I was gonna say, for a guy getting married on Halloween, that's shocking.
Right. Eventually, when we get to a couple movies, I'll end up having to watch some of these, I'm sure. But instead, we're doing stuff about the Bond films because I like the Bond films. Although this one, I mean, not as much. There's good things in this. It's not like it's like terrible or anything. It's not the worst ranked or anything. But this one's got problems. And when we start breaking down exactly why, you're going to understand why. But before we get into specifics, let me toss out 3 things that I had written down prior to I don't know where to necessarily put this. The Michael G. Wilson cameo for this one is he is somebody just speaking with C. I don't remember what part. That's why I just don't have it in the specific section. Gary Oldman was approached to play Oberhauser, which I don't think works for this incarnation, but man, is Gary Oldman not one of the best actors that's ever acted? And that dude could play like practically anything and I'd be down for it. Gary
Oldman's great.
Never seen him bad in anything. Whether he's like Commissioner Gordon or he's, like a despicable villain, or he's just like, I don't know, a kindly dude or something. Like he's a chameleon. He's great.
I don't know if I would want to see him in this role.
I would love to see him as a villain in something.
Like he's so good. But he also played Churchill, so like he could be transformed into anything. So maybe.
I still think that one of the best people that could have been a Bond villain, which at this point it's not going to happen, is oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? I just had it in my head. The Last of the Mohicans, when he played Lincoln. Oh my god, well, I can only think of John Rhys Davies. That's completely not it. Daniel Day-Lewis. That's it's a 3-name thing, not Samuel L. Jackson. But Chiwetel Ejiofor was also up for the role of C. I don't think that fits him, but I think he'd be great in a Bond film too. For anybody
were there any
know
other people playing Hanks, or was it just Bautista?
As far as I know, he was the only one that really got into the mix. Probably because he's huge. But they were looking for
a strong vocabulary. Verbal range that really got him the role.
They were looking specifically for somebody that was around his size and a former athlete, or at least a current athlete or something. So he nailed it, But there's probably some other people. They probably had plenty of like stunt guys that tried out for the role, and like the dude who's like the Rock stuntman probably auditioned for it and stuff like that. But
you mean Dwayne would be in a Bond movie?
Yeah, like Dwayne wouldn't do this
to do the Mr. Hanks part.
Role,
no,
yeah, he certainly wouldn't do that role. But could you ever imagine him taking on any role in a Bond movie?
Moneypenny.
He'd have to be.
I was thinking he'd be like the most incredible Felix Leiter.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be great.
I think like a 2000 Rock could be a great Felix Leiter. At this point, Rock has to either be like the muscle ally or the main villain who orders the henchmen around.
I think his role in Fast and Furious is basically him going, well, if I did a Bond film, I'd want to be Bond, and that's a different story. But those two, of course, were in the running in some fashion. We didn't end up getting them. We got to the people that we did, which I think they work out perfectly fine. And Another note that I have here, Jesper Christensen, the one who plays Mr. White, has the distinction of being the first actor to play the same Bond villain in 3 movies. Nobody else has done that. We've had some twofers, like Jaws, and Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Dawson played the unseen Blofeld in From Russia with Love and Thunderball, and he was also Professor Dent and Dr. No, but that doesn't count because obviously it's a third character, so it's a different story. But he doesn't really get credit for it in the same kind of way either, so it's only 2. But Christensen, nobody else has done it 3 times.
Nobody does better.
Nobody does better 3 times. So let's start off the film. We get a slow introduction of the Bond theme, and then, do my eyes deceive me? The gun barrel.
Yeah, so I messaged Tony while watching this, because it doesn't hit you sometimes the way we watch these films. We've been doing one a week. So people had to wait 13 years for a gun barrel.
Yep.
Even longer if you just go, oh, fucking Die Another Day sucks, that doesn't count.
That's why it was like such a big deal for me, because I'm watching the other ones and I'm like, well, the Die Another Day one had that bullet, and that was kind of dumb. And then they do the thing with not having the gun barrel with Casino Royale, and I don't really like the gun barrel still itself, but like they do that and I'm like, all right, well, I kind of see why they did it that way, but at least in the next film it's going to be normal. And then they don't do it again, and then they don't do it again, and there's all the delays and stuff. So quite literally, when we were going into the theater, it's, a group of like 10 of us or so, and I'm telling people like, and I'm of course the biggest Bond fan out of the bunch of us. And people are like, I saw the last one, it was kind of good and whatever, and like, well, I didn't see Quantum of Solace, but I saw this, that kind of thing, and I'm like, they better do the fucking gun barrel. And my friend Ryan's like, man, you're really gonna be pissed if they don't do that. And I was like, yeah, because they haven't done it with the other ones, like whatever. So he's sitting next to me in the theater, and when it happens, I instinctively just like, how like when you are getting pumped up for something, you punch your like fist.
Yeah.
I did that, and I was like, let's go. And he was like, God damn it, dude. I'm like, what? I'm fucking pumped. We got a gun barrel. And it's a good gun barrel, too. He doesn't sprint like he did with the other one and snap around too quickly. He just casually walks and does a traditional gun barrel. And I'm in the theater at the time going, all right, I instantly like this movie so far. And then the rest of it happens. But big fan of the fact that there was actually a gun barrel this time. Should have been with the other ones too.
Yeah, I'm happy. I was happy with the other gun barrels in the positions they were in. But this is a different movie. That there's no need to move the gun barrel to a different location. So getting it out of the way early is totally fine by me.
And I think this sets the stage for the rest of the movie, because they woke up and were like, all right, it's been long enough. Let's just do Bond.
Yeah, this movie in a lot of ways feels like they said, let's finally do a traditional Bond film.
Because at this point, it kind of has been. Because again, all those years since the gun barrel at the beginning, we'll get into the villain later, but all those years, like you could just literally go, we could do Connery, but update it.
Right. And Sam Mendes is back after having done Skyfall. He was a big fan of the franchise to begin with. That's why he did it. And this kind of comes off, and he's said similar things of him being like, all right, I put my stamp on it film already. Now I get to do the, what if I was in Glenn's role or one of the other directors from the past that just sort of did a bunch of traditional Bond films. And by and large, I like this movie. It's just that there's some problems in it that I really can't get past. Kind of like how I had said before with like Skyfall, where I was like, oh, like 75% of Skyfall is absolutely amazing and 25% of it just pisses me off. And this one's like, well, so it's a little more 60-40. Not as strong as Skyfall is, but there are some elements of this that I really, really do like. And they still do some things that they update in a little way where it's kind of like, all right, you put a little spin on it, and that's kind of cool. Like, after the gun barrel, instead of it doing the whole, like, goes to the corner of the screen, fades into some kind of an iris that goes into the scene, we get a title card that says, "The Dead Are Alive." And I'm like, all right, kind of sold me on this a little bit. Although at that point, with the fact that they're calling the film Spectre and Christoph Waltz is in there, spoiler alert, everybody knows who the hell he is. So it's like, yeah, I wonder if that's kind of the reference here, but you're not supposed to think about things like that. And then bam, Baron Samedi is back. Kinda.
Yeah, that popped me.
It's a float, but it's a skeleton. It's in Mexico City. It's the Day of the Dead celebration. It's very much, hey, you guys remember Baron Samedi? And then I go, I do. That's the guy.
Well, it's a loose reference, I feel, just because he was a voodoo priest. It certainly wasn't Mexican. Let's put it that way. So it's like, it's just the fact that, okay, this is a Day of the Dead celebration, which I think was quite fitting considering who the Bond villain ends up being. Makes sense to start in this location, even though he doesn't really have concrete ties to what goes on in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that they knew what they were doing. They know if they're going to take inspiration from something like that, let's put a little Baron Samedi twist on it. People will pop for it. And I did. And you can't really do that with some of the other ones. You can't have like Bond just hanging out in a boat and then he just goes, "Oh, I once knew a guy named Jaws." Like, it's a little on the nose, but you can with this kind of thing. And even Daniel Craig himself is, he's wearing a skeleton costume with a top hat and all. So it's kind of like, if you didn't quite get it then, like, we'll kind of do that sort of. It's a legend that's beyond the Bond franchise. So it's not like it's something that they just created, but they play into it a little bit, which I think is cool. And since we are in the Daniel Craig era, we have that rule where you have to start the film off with a yellowish environment with people walking or running around in some fashion when rooftops. Because it's a thing. That's their trope they keep doing. If they don't do it in No Time to Die, I'm going to be incredibly shocked. Every movie has had it.
But will you be upset?
No. Because it's not like it's a trope that needs to happen. It's just kind of like, man, you guys really like doing this, don't you? In this case, we have something that's disguised as a one-shot runner, but it's actually like 4 to 6 shots composited together. They do a pretty good job with it. It could pass this off as if it's one shot, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I'd be obviously very surprised if it would have been one continuous shot, but it does like flow very well together.
There's only like one real shot that I feel is sort of obvious that it's where they disguise one of the cuts, and it's when they just show a door and then you're like, all right, you're going to a different environment now. But Bond's walking around, he's got his snazzy top hat and all on. He's accompanied by a super attractive woman in a snazzy purple dress. This woman has no development at all other than just being beautiful, but she's Estrella. She's apparently part of she's like a Mexican agent. Not just like a woman, like she's actually like an intelligence agent.
Aren't they always, somehow, they're linked together, whether it was Jinx or the one in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Or Caruso in Live and Let Die, who's, hanging out in the closet and everything.
Yeah, they're always agents.
Sometimes they're just, hotel receptionist or something, or sometimes it's his language teacher,
That is true.
For
such a cunning what it wants.
Yeah. It's just the dowling rod, like we were talking about. But she looks great. She doesn't really do anything. Bond says, "See ya," basically to her, and that's about it. How does Estrella rank in your character list?
I mean, not high, but it's like it's a setup thing. It's just she's there for, I won't say like comedic value, but it's just like, okay, Bond's with a beautiful woman. What a big surprise! Oh, and now he needs to go and do his actual job. So it's just like, yeah, I feel that is very Bondian, what happened there.
Yeah.
She ranks higher to me than the one in Skyfall, for instance. But he heads off onto the balcony with a gun, and he's changed to this like bluish suit, casually walking on the rooftops, gets ready to play assassin. And the guy he's scoping out in this white suit is Marco Sciarra. They've got a bomb, they're going to blow up a stadium, and then he's going to visit somebody called the Pale King, which I take offense to because I'm very pale. Bond ends up being spotted.
You're our king, Tony.
The blue laser of his gun gives him off, which is like, come on, James, better than that. And the bomb ends up going off, blowing up pretty much the entire building and causing that to collapse, which narrowly crushes Bond and probably kills a whole bunch of people, but you don't really, hear much about that. There's a cool little piece where the building's falling onto the other one and he has to jump out of the way and he ends up landing comfortably on a couch because he's James Bond. But it's a nice little set sequence thing.
Yeah, again, I think it flows very well. There's the continuous shot of him going across all the rooftops and then seeing the discussion take place, then the building just coming down gradually and him falling through the roof. And again, there's one thing that has been consistent about this Bond is that he isn't the lightest on his feet. But they do end it in a nice way of him just falling on top of the couch, just landing comfortably on a sofa. It just feels like, oh yeah, that is also like that struck me as like that's straight out of a Roger Moore movie right there.
Bond just falls ass backwards, quite literally, into, hey, look, I'm all right. Tosses the thing away and starts, dusting himself off. But Sciarra's trying to get away. Bond chases him down. They brawl throughout the streets and eventually dangling out of a helicopter. I'm not as big on the helicopter thing as some other people are.
I quite like the jeopardy of it to a degree, but it's been a thing. I don't want to say a theme, but something with the Craig movies is that they seem more willing to be a bit loose with the fact that there could be civilian casualties in everything that Bond does or gets involved with. And so the idea that this helicopter just like soaring around in front of this square that seems to have thousands of people, you can obviously tell this is pre-COVID times. Yeah. There's obviously so many people just in the center there. And yeah, I kind of like the stunt work of it. I think it's a little bit too long. I don't think it needs to be stretched out for as long as it is, but I don't have anything like there's nothing significantly wrong about it.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I don't tend to read too much into these things as long as it's not egregiously bad. And even sometimes when it is egregiously bad, I still like it. So this was fine for me.
To me, it's just sort of a thing. Like, if I'm going to list my favorite action sequences in the Bond series, this isn't going to make the top 30,
But he's pretty messy, though, this Bond. I mean, all Bonds are kind of messy and care nothing about collateral damage, but Craig more so.
Yeah, there's hundreds of people down below, and he's just kind of, fighting over a ring, which will come back later on.
I do appreciate the fact that he just kicks two people out of the helicopter.
Yeah,
that's a very Bond thing.
They don't need to live.
No, exactly.
You don't have a choice.
But it's just like one of those things that, because James Bond, essentially, the mindset is that he can do pretty much anything to a degree. He does it in a sloppy way, but he can pretty much do anything. So just the fact that he's willing to just fight this helicopter pilot and kick him out of there and then just assume control of the helicopter while it's plummeting out of the air. Like, oh yeah, that's what he does.
Well, eventually he gets that ring and he looks down on it. We see this octopus symbol. And that transitions into the opening titles, which, kind of weird. Bond's being caressed by naked women on fire. There's an octopus and some very fetishy stuff that some people are into. I don't understand why. Apparently one of the eyeballs is Karen Gillan. Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ah, Boy, all the Guardians are making appearances.
She was quoted, I forget exactly where, I didn't write it down in my notes about where she had said this, but she had said something along the way of that she really wanted to be in a Bond film, but she would have ideally wanted to be a Bond villain and to lick Daniel Craig. Which is like, all right, Callum.
That really strikes me as typical of her kind of style of interview and stuff like that. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm totally not surprised by that.
All right, Karen, like we see where you're going here.
We all watch Casino Royale, it's fine.
So the visuals are one thing. They're a bit on the nose, I think. I wrote down here, 1 million shards of glass haunt me from my past with glass shattering and the shot of Vesper. Like, all right, you're not really trying too hard to be subtle there. It's very on Her Majesty's Secret Service as well, where you see clips of the previous movies to remind you that it's the same continuity. The song itself, I like it, but it's not one of my favorites. I think it's kind of like a C+. I can imagine it can't be that hard to write a song with the word Spectre. So, you got Ghost and Phantom and your past and death and all that. So right off the bat, it kind of annoys me that it's the writings on the wall, because it's like, well, you couldn't have written something about Spectre.
I liked it. Sam Smith really has that voice, that kind of classic Bond theme song kind of voice. Not as good as Adele by a fucking mile, but he did his thing, and I enjoyed it. But I don't think it's very high on my list. I forget where I had it ranked.
You actually have it up pretty high. You have it at number 8 out of currently ranking 24.
That's fair, but like those other 7 are probably songs that I listen to on the regular. I don't know if I'd listen to this regularly.
You've got it under Thunderball.
Yeah, like right there, like Thunderball, I would go back and actually just play because I just enjoy the song.
Callum's got it at number 8 as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this song. I think Sam Smith is an exceptional singer. I think that I like the tone of it. It's more sad and melancholy, but I think that it kind of fits what the way the movie is structured. Yeah, the lyrics are in the nose and the visuals do go a bit more on the nose, but I'd rather that than just completely missing the point altogether. I think that this is it's visually stunning. I think it's like, again, some of the imagery is weird and it sticks weirdly to like you're watching it and you're just like, okay, they're doing this and that, but I kind of feel like I remember bits from it and I remember the way they do it. I love the little blast from the past that you see because again, it feeds into what the movie is trying to tell you. And again, I don't want to say that the movie is like 100% successful in that regard, but I feel like it's important to have that links to the past because of the way that the things are structured in this movie. And yeah, I think that it's one of the best looking opening sequences that I've seen, and I'm a big fan of it. Again, it's at number 8, so there are still plenty of songs ahead of it on my list, but I think that it's one of the best ones. I'd put it up there. It's obviously in my top 10, so yeah, it would be in my top 10 Bond theme songs.
In comparison, these guys have it at number 8. I have it at number 17. I have it underneath You Know My Name and above Moonraker. But with that being said, like the song itself, and that's where I differentiate with some of these things. I've got 3 versions of the song in my collection because I like the song. I think it's a missed opportunity to not have it be called Spectre, and or to at least have more lyrics about to work the word Spectre in there kind of somewhere, because it's not like it's like, I mean, Adele was able to do Skyfall, and Tom Jones was able to do Thunderball. Spectre is an actual word. You can actually do it. You know what I mean? Goldfinger. We got Goldfinger. We got Goldeneye, etc. But it's a song that I like more on its own than I like as a Bond theme. And I'm glad that they went with that sort of tone for it, because I think that works better than just the rock kind of thing. But it doesn't quite land for me. It won a Best Original Song Oscar. So
yeah, it's just because they I think it's because like Sam Smith was super over at the time, so let's get him in there.
I'm Not the Only One is a much better Sam Smith song, I think. Big fan of that one.
Sam Smith has a good range of pretty impressive material.
So here's a little bit of trivia. This is the second Bond theme that has a title that is set in a movie prior to the film that it's the main theme of. The first one is The World's Not Enough, because they say the world's not enough in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah. Do you guys want to take a guess of where this comes into play at a previous film?
What, Spectre?
No.
Playing
the writings on the wall.
Writings on the wall.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I can't remember the actual
A View to a Kill.
Itself.
Well, the phrase itself is the writings on the wall.
Well, no, I'm guessing if that's the movie it came into play.
No guesses, Callum?
What's the point? Just I don't know it.
You got 1 out of 23.
Well, yeah, but I don't just want to guess it if I don't know it.
Goldeneye. It's when Q shows him the pen, and when they blow up the mannequin, and he says, "Well, don't say it."
Yeah.
And Bond goes, "Oh, the writing's on the wall."
On the wall. Yeah. Okay.
Along with the rest of them. So that's just one of those kind of things, Interesting.
I missed that Q.
So, speaking of having a new Q, we have our new M, Gareth Mallory, who is pissed. So we're back to formula here. Yeah. M mad at Bond. It's a regular trope here. And it's not because of coffee. It's not because he wants him to get murdered by Scaramanga. He's mad because he basically blew up half a block. And he wasn't even on a mission. Bond went and did this on his own. And he justifies, like, hey, blowing up half a block's better than a stadium blowing up, right? Which, he's got a point. But it's still just kind of like, all right, you're being a dick about it, but I agree with you, Dickhead Bond. We're back to formula with that, too.
Yeah. I think obviously the bigger issue for M at this point is just the idea that Bond's doing this. Obviously, essentially he's doing work in his spare time. And it's causing his, especially due to the fact that, as he explains, there's currently this giant merger going on between MI5 and MI6, and they're basically saying, okay, right now everyone's trying to push for the idea that 007, the 00 agents are old-fashioned, which has been a bit of a theme in the previous movie as well. Just the idea that, okay, this whole secret agent going into environments, the license to kill, all that stuff, it's just old-fashioned. We don't do spying that way anymore. And so this is just giving them more ammunition to say, oh yeah, that we shouldn't be doing this anymore because you guys just keep fucking up.
Yeah, he has a perfectly reasonable reaction to this. Stop giving them reasons to scrap the 00 program.
Yeah. Well, it's even more reasonable, especially the fact that he asked Bond what he was doing and Bond just doesn't tell him.
Mm-hmm. He's just like, it's a coincidence. I was on holiday. Like, I just happened to come across this, Marco Sciarra figure, and just happened to have a gun with me. I just happened to be sleeping with a Mexican intelligence agent at the time. What do you do on your vacation, Em? Like that kind of thing. So M says, you're grounded. He sends him to his room without any dessert. And Bond goes,
Dad.
Oh, man.
Come on.
He goes, do I look like I give a damn? That's how... He's suspended, but Bond's not all upset. He's just sort of like, all right, thanks. We'll see you. But before he leaves, we're introduced to this bureaucrat type. And he's not Villiers or Tanner or Robinson or Defense Minister Sir Frederick Grey or any of the characters that we've seen so far. This guy's new. His name is Max Denbigh. He's the Director General of the Joint Security Service. And Bond says, I'm going to call you C instead.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of like on the nose, but you might as well have him just be like, I don't like you, you cunt.
It's just the way that he says it. It's like, oh, that's not necessary. It's just like, no, you look like a C.
Yeah. So right after M is chewing him out and he suspends him, he insults his potentially new successor superior, you know. That's great. It's Bond. Bond's approached by Moneypenny, who hands him something about the forensics people have finally released. It's personal effects recovered from Skyfall. So he says, bring it back later to his place. And we finally see Bond's place. 24 movies we've never seen where Bond lives. We've only twice, if I remember correctly, maybe 3 times, have seen Bond's office. And it was just, an emergency Secret Service and the part of the day with the virtual reality thing. So that's the closest we've seen to something like that is his office, which, what does he have in his office? He's got, the rebreather from Thunderwall, and he's got things like just trophies kind of. But in his actual apartment, bare bones, depressing as hell. It's got a chair, a lamp, some art that hasn't even been hanged up. There's boxes on the floor. There's a TV, but it's mostly there because it serves a purpose for the scene. But how great is it that that's how they did it?
No, I feel like it's so perfect for a character like Bond, because essentially all Bond needs to know is like, because he essentially he lives in hotels,
right?
And he lives in the fanciest hotel, so it makes sense that he spends probably days, if not weeks, if not days of his life in his actual apartment. And so he doesn't need to really look after the place that much. And especially Daniel Craig's Bond doesn't feel like someone who really has a significant attachment to things, or feels like, oh, I've got to hang my memorabilia up in the walls or stuff like that, or this precious artwork. I don't think this is how Roger Moore's Bond would live, put it that way.
No, I mean because
surely that was Moore's house that we saw in
right. We see Bond's place with Roger Moore, but it's a completely different kind of setup.
His fancy coffee maker, of course.
Right. Yeah. Forgot about that.
But, and that's clearly like far removed from this one, but this totally suits the very emotionally detached Craig's Bond.
And Daniel Craig was instrumental in picking the things that went in there too. So he had his personal touch of like, this is what I think Bond would have, which is really cool.
Funny, because 4 movies in, I'm still like, you don't look like Bond to me. I've never got over that.
It's still kind of the same for me too, yeah. But Moneypenny says everybody's chatting about Bond. They're all, the chatters that he's done based off of what happened in Mexico. But she thinks that he's up to something, but that he just doesn't trust anybody to fill them in on that. So he proves her wrong. And he says, well, he doesn't say anything, but he turns on his TV and there's a message, and it's M. Well, old M. Dead M.
Judi Dench.
Judi Dench, M, yeah. It's kind of funny because the Callum caught himself saying this, but he was like, all right, M, because you kind of want to just call him Mallory, right?
Yeah, you kind of do, because obviously this M in this timeline is Judi Dench, because that's who the original character was for when Craig started out. And so it doesn't feel like you can't really just call her whatever real
Olivia Mansfield.
Yeah. It just feels like you calling her Mansfield or something like that just feels weird. She is M, but also he is M, because M is a position. It's not a person.
You know what happens if you put them both together?
Get M&M's, Tony.
You lose yourself in the music,
You also get There's a
they do exist.
Deleted sex scene of Judi Dench and and it's just kind of like instinctively, it's like, oh, it's M. Oh wait, no, she's not M anymore because she died. But she died when she was M. But he's M. But it's Mallory and Mansfield. So it's just kind of one of those kind of things. But she says on her message, if anything happens to her, she needs him to do something. Find Marco Sciarra and kill him, and don't miss the funeral. And that's it. So Bond's just like, well, I found him and I killed him. and I'm going to go to the funeral. She told me to do it, and I trust what she was saying. And this was delivered to his mailbox just after she died. And he says a line that I think is really great. He says she wasn't going to let death get in the way of doing her job.
Yeah, first of all, that's you. Okay, that's going to be on your tombstone. But that was a great line, and one of my favorite parts of the whole film, honestly.
Me too. I just assumed that she wasn't going to be a part of this because, her character died. So when she pops up on the screen like that, and they've got her theme from Skyfall that they finally gave M a theme for these movies, and that comes on, and it's just like, oh man, yeah, that's M. Oh, I miss her, And yeah, she was a badass. She's cool. I'm expecting to not see her in No Time to Die, but I don't know. Maybe she pops up in some other kind of. He's carrying a picture of her. So I don't know. Whatever it might be. Turns out that he does have the little bulldog statue from M's desk. That's pretty cute that he kept it and everything.
Of course. They were a very sentimental Bond and M pairing.
It's like a mother and son relationship, kind of, huh? Mom?
Yes, totally.
So this whole Sciarra thing's turned up with nothing. And he needs Moneypenny's help to look into the Pale King. And, she's like, all right, whatever. So he starts looking into those personal effects. It's got some burned documents and such, all conveniently pointing to his temporary guardianship from a Hans Oberhauser. There's even this mysterious picture of Bond and Hans and another boy whose head's burned off. The picture, I mean, not the kid himself. Jesus Christ. His head's burned off. God, that'd be terrible if they just that's what happened to him. And he's like Ghost Rider with a fucking flaming skull and whatever. But that's just one of those, we got to set that up for later on kind of things. And later on, we're going to go back to it. Later on, I'm going to complain about it. Not necessarily that they showed it here, but the whole entire plot point. So keeping up with the exposition, Tanner's back. Big fan of Rory Kinnear as Tanner. And he and Bond are on a boat ride in the Thames, and he's explaining the old MI6 building that we've come to love for the past 7 films or so is going to be demolished. It's cheaper to knock it down than to rebuild. Kind of indicative of how we do things these days, right? My phone's broken, I'm just going to get a new one.
Yep.
Yeah, why would you spend all the money rebuilding an old building when you can create a shiny new glass one?
Yeah, this eyesore kind of. I like glass buildings and stuff, but it kind of immediately makes you go, oh, I don't like this. Because that's not MI6 building that we know. There's something wrong with this building.
Yeah, it's again, it's supposed to be sophisticated and techy and modern and innovative, and it's all these words that just old people hate. And it's also words that young people these days now hate because they're so empty and vacuous nowadays. It's everybody describes themselves as, oh, we're innovative and we're modern and we're forward thinking and stuff like that, and none of that actually really means anything.
You're an influencer with content creation like that.
Because the people that are right in the middle that came up with these words don't mind them as much because they've been co-opted by the old people, and now the younger people are just like, you sound like you're old and you don't know what you're talking about, but you're trying to.
Yeah. It's immediately just something's wrong, and we're setting up another plot point, of course, but we're not supposed to like it. And it's obvious we're not supposed to like it. Instead of being like, wow, this is so cool and so great. Because Tanner's just sort of yeah, they put this thing up across the pond, not the pond, the river. But there's some setup about how in a few days they're having this meeting called the Nine Eyes. They're kind of a United Nations of shared intelligence, in a sense. He even drops the phrase the New World Order. So those 9 eyes are Hollywood Hogan, Big Sexy Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Six, Ted DiBiase.
Macho Man.
Yeah, the 9 eyes, the way that normally would be. some people probably listening to this right now are like, what the hell are you talking about?
I do hope Waltman was number 6.
Yeah, he should have been. If you have no idea what we're talking about, it's a pro wrestling reference. Check out the NWO stuff. Check out Smart Out Moment, the other website where we talk about pro wrestling and stuff, because that's, if you don't get it, you don't get it. If you do, you do. Bond goes to Q Branch, and we get a repeat of what we had in Casino Royale. They inject him with a tracking chip. This time it's nanotech, and they call it Smart Blood. But it's even down to the whole thing where he says, ow. Well, last time he said ouch, this time he just says Christ when he's getting injected with the arm. So it's just, hey, let's, do that again. So I'm like, man, these gadgets are just they're not doing anything for me in this Daniel Craig era.
I mean, again, they're not super, I guess, flashy or ridiculous, which is probably why they're not resonating as much. The thing about the Craig gadgets is that they're very, I don't want to say sophisticated, but they're very what you'd expect that you can kind of do with technology nowadays. Maybe it's pushing boundaries a little bit, obviously, with like this nanotechnology, smart blood, that sort of stuff. But it feels like we're heading in that direction rather than probably in like the 60s or 70s when you would see like a rocket car or something on those lines. You just think, oh my god, like this crazy future that we're living in. I think they're trying to like ground it in some element of reality, which makes it a little bit stilted.
To me, give me the watch that has a magnet on it and a laser and the phone that can control the car, like something that's reasonable, but at the same time is still above what we've got compared to like. Yeah, I always keep going back to the crocodile submarine, which is like, come on, you carried that shit around? Like that seems completely pointless. But the key ring, like the key finder, it's another good one. Also, Q shows him the new car. It's a sleek looking thing. I'm not a car guy, but you can immediately tell like, that's a cool looking car. It's got all these sorts of gadgets, and it's not going to go to 007. He's on the naughty list right now, so it's going to be reassigned to 009. That's great. Just like, look at this great car. Oh, man. Would have went to you if you wouldn't have been a jerk about things, but we're going to give it to 009.
Wow, 9 eyes. Huh. Beware the number 9. John Lennon. Everything, revolution.
If I'm going to nitpick, which I am, and it's a super inconsequential nitpick, so mind you, this isn't the type of thing where I'm like, this takes 10% off the movie or something. I think it would have been better if this were to be given to 008. Because that pushes that rivalry a little bit more. If I would have been able to do like a rewrite, I would have been like, yeah, let's change 009 to 008. Just to kind of be like, he got another one up on you, He's the good boy kind of thing.
I guess it depends, really, because in this timeline, he has no rivalry with 008.
That's one of the reasons why I would have put that in there, to be like, that's still a thing, Because they mentioned 009. They could have just as easily mentioned 008. It would have been weird if they would have said 006, because at this point we've established 006, so you kind of can't bring him up anymore. You can do 001, you can do 004 again, you could do, anybody other than 7 and 6, but I think 8 would have been better. It's a total nitpick, though. It's not the type of thing everybody's going to be like, oh my god, come on, Tony, get off of it. But yeah, it would have been my little tweak to it. Bond does get a watch, though. He asks, does it do anything? And Q says, it tells the time. Might help you with your punctuality issues. I like, good little joke.
Yeah. But he also mentioned it has a very loud alarm.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a nice little, got a little bit of a gadget in there, which is cool. The old Aston Martin's there, too. Kind of.
I'll say this. I know we've been talking about this exact thing, but I don't like that this Q is very, it's not all about the wacky gadgets, and it's just a watch. It tells the time, you dick. Like, Yeah,
but the
I like
alarm
fun
thing
gadgets.
sells it though, because then it's just like, well, it tells the time. Ha ha ha. By the way, there's also kind of a bomb in it.
Fair enough.
But Q points out about the old Aston Martin. He's like, it's going to take some time to restore because there's pretty much nothing left. And then he jokes, I believe I said to bring it back in one piece, not to bring back one piece. And only he laughs, which I love that moment. It's one of my favorite parts of the film. This Q cracks himself up and nobody else finds him funny.
Yeah, that's the point. It's just that I don't want Q to now be like a retread of like the most famous iteration. Yeah, to the most famous iteration of Llewellyn's character, because it just feels like that would be trying to recapture something that's already been perfected. This Q is different, and it won't be to everyone's taste, but I like the fact that he thinks he's hilarious, and he has these little like quibbles and stuff like that. The fact that he doesn't like to fly, and he wanted to get away from Whitehall, and so he's basically buried himself in the underground area instead. I like the fact that this Q is a bit particular at how he likes things, and he makes like his first like real joke of the entire thing, and he thinks that it's absolutely hilarious, and it's just like, everyone's just staring at him, just like, yeah, none of us like we like you, dude, but like just don't.
Yeah,
it's like everyone hates him. But it's like that. Yeah, we don't like you because you do that stuff. That stuff makes us not like you.
But he's like, and I think I said this before, he's like a babyface Boris, where he's like, he's a nerd and everybody knows it, but he's fighting for the good people, so, you're not going to rag on him too hard.
With like the knockers joke and, was he good for you too? And like kind of thing, like,
yeah,
just sort of like, I said to bring it back in one piece. Ha ha ha. I'm going to tell somebody about this later on and go, I made this funny joke at work. Everybody laughed and laughed.
Everybody laughed.
You can totally lie about it, right? So I like
as if this Q has anyone to go home to.
He does. He has 2 cats to feed.
Oh yeah, that's true. Just tell him then.
He says specifically about this. He says, Bond asks to fuck with the smart blood and help him disappear, and Q's just like, no, I got a mortgage and I got 2 cats to feed, but he goes along with it in front of Tanner, who's not in on it, which is great. So he's just like, oh, it's in a developmental phase. There's going to be glitches in the first 24 hours. Bond just stares at him like, I need more time. And he goes, 48 hours. So in the last film, the what makes you think this is my first time bit of dialogue had, I believe Callum had said it, launched all sorts of fan fiction. And here, the line about the cats may or may not establish in a roundabout way, and I'd say in a roundabout way because that's how it would be approached with this, that this Q might be gay, like the actor who portrays him, Ben Whishaw. And mind you, that doesn't matter in any fashion outside of like the positives of representation and everything, but it's not like the character's sexual preference has factored into any film point at all, except for that brief joke in Octopussy where he's like, oh, ladies, there's not time for this. Well, maybe later. It changes literally nothing, but if people can see the movie and they can feel like they're seen and they have someone to look up to or whatever, I say power to it. Why not? You lose nothing. You only gain goodwill and all.
Well,
but just because he has cats?
Well, I mean, his mannerisms, the actor himself, the cat thing, it is kind of one of those roundabout stereotype things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say that obviously I'd be totally for more kind of LGBTQ plus characters to be represented within the Bond franchise. The issue with that is that the Bond franchise has a huge following in China and countries that are less tolerant towards this sort of
that sort of representation. To go on TV and say Taiwan's not a country.
Yeah, well, pretty much along those lines. It's just a case of if you were to put scenes of that nature within, or even like allude to it in a more direct way than this could potentially be hearkening to, then those countries will ask it to be taken out of the movie.
Right.
We put into some sort of put in such a situation where you can edit it out of that another movie. Yeah, and it doesn't alter the flow of the movie too much.
That's why I think that they did it the way that they did it.
Well, so people just wouldn't. People who can speculate and potentially write about it. It's like one of those things like the Dumbledore's gay, but nothing in the movie suggests that Dumbledore is gay.
Right, yeah. Like, if you are paying attention and if you want to dissect it, you can get into it. Then again, we've said before, like, I've written papers about the James Bond character and stuff, so I'm the type of person who does. But you don't get beaten over the head with it in any way, or it's not the type of thing that they don't make it a plot point where they can't deny that if they want to try to deny that, which they shouldn't have to, but politics are completely different, BS.
That's fucking ridiculous. I'll just, like, if your relationship with these countries means so much that you're like, oh, we can't make you gay. Fuck that.
It just speaks to the way that some people are in this world, which, of course, it's gotten some people to bitch and moan. They're like, oh, Q stands for queer in this franchise now, which is like, God, come on.
Yeah, like, you see, those people are just dicks.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm
not in the good James Bond way, in the come on, asshole type of way. Like,
and as much as you can say, well, I'm tired of catering to sensitive people. Yeah, I'm also tired of catering to dicks. Like, that just shouldn't be.
Right. So I think that that's a really good way of adding some extra layer to the character. I think that I'm all for it. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but, then again, I've read too much into some other parts of this franchise. But I think that one is a roundabout way of saying it, and I like it. It's another little element to this different version of Q. He's got the jokes that nobody laughs at. He's got this. He's got that he's younger. He's, Q works much better in this movie, I think, than he does in the previous one. Although I like him in Skyfall, too.
Yeah, he's finding his niche. Unfortunately, these movies are so spaced out that, like, you can't get too attached to the characters.
It's kind of weird to be like, I've been Q for like 10 years. And you're like, how many movies did you do? And he's like, 2.
I do appreciate him, though. Again, he's not Desmond Llewellyn, but he doesn't need to be. He just needs to be him.
I hate to say far better than John Cleese, but I do like him better than Cleese.
I think it's the difference in the fact that Cleese only really had one movie to be Q. And I feel like he would have grown into it. And he was only in it for like 2 scenes, so it's not like he got a real fair shake at the role.
Yeah, and he was in arguably like the worst of the modern ones.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Moneypenny gets back to her office and has a gift waiting for her that just says, "Thank you, Jay." It's from the Joker. And she's the new Harley Quinn.
Clearly.
She's got a new phone, burner phone, to chat with Bond. And M asks, "Hey, what's up? What's going on with this?" And she says, "That's just a gift from an admirer." And he goes, "Well, it's not your birthday, is it?" And she goes, "Nope. That was last week."
One of my favorite I'll say my favorite Moneypenny. I mean, like, Lois Maxwell was great, but she's fantastic.
It's just another quick, snappy kind of scene that gets more character development for 2 different characters and pushes the plot along a little bit more, because then you're like, oh, okay, well, that's how Bond's talking with Moneypenny. And then later on, we're going to find out that doesn't really matter anyway, because they can still spy. But, like, I like the snappiness of that. Like, that's why I say, like, there's parts of this movie that are really good. It just happens to be a couple plot points that really drag it down. And I think one acting decision, or one casting decision, I should say. Also, 009's ready to pick up the car, but it's replaced with bottled champagne. Bond's taking it instead. Fuck you.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder why Q is so I don't say eager, but so willing to put his career on the line for this guy who just stole a car that was meant to be going to another agent.
Bond perpetually gets this reputation throughout the series, which is great, of like, oh man, I hate working with this douchebag, but he's fucking right. Like,
I mean, to be fair, it's like Q showed it to him, knowing full well that he wasn't getting the car, and so Bond just went, "Okay, then, fuck you."
Yeah, at this point, you've known him well enough. If you tell the kid, "Now, Jimmy, don't you eat these cookies," you put it on the table, he's gonna fucking eat a cookie. It's Bond.
Yeah.
He does
everything. A
everything.
little kid wouldn't leave a bottle of champagne as a reward afterwards either. So.
I don't know, maybe Jimmy would. I've never stolen cookies and left a bottle of champagne, but some kid.
I want to go around Jimmy's house if that's the case.
But it's like a reverse Santa Claus kind of thing.
Why do I never have sleepovers around Jimmy's house then with the bottles of champagne and stuff like that?
To be fair, now I really want cookies because I have a specific image in my mind of like soft chocolate chip cookies with like the chocolate chips still kind of being melty. And oh man,
that's almost the only cookie I think of when I think of chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah, same thing with Kevin Owens. Mark that moment, check it out. Well, chocolate chip, So Bond's in this swanky car, of course. Is this the third time I used said the word swanky? No, I said snazzy earlier. Okay. I'm just going to toss all those out today. And he's in Rome. Like Olivia had said, don't miss the funeral. Olivia! Oh, I just referred to her as Olivia instinctively. Wow, okay. Guess I'm going to do that.
Sad day.
That's weird. Just like Olivia. Wow, okay. Huh. The one person that's left among the mourners is Marco's wife, Lucia Sciarra, played by Monica Bellucci. As previously mentioned, Bellucci was in the running to play Paris Carver and was deemed too old in 1997. So here she becomes
playing a different role.
Right, but she becomes the oldest Bond girl here at age 51. And does she not look great?
It shows how much...
She looks awesome at 51. She looks awesome for any age, realistically.
Right,
but yeah.
It shows how much the idea of age changed in just 15 years. It was like, why wouldn't you have this 51-year-old knockout? Let alone a 35-year-old knockout.
It's one of those things that, like, when you're young, you don't pay as much attention to it. But the older you get, the more that you go, wow, Hollywood's terrible. Like, in just so many ways. And, like, watching some older movies every so often, I'll pick up something. I'm blanking on, like, a specific example. But I'll watch something, it'll be, like, some 48-year-old main actor. And his love interest is, like, 22. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, you couldn't have gotten even a 35-year-old that would be still 10 plus years younger, but like, it's just kind of, thankfully that's changing a little bit here and there. It still hasn't gotten as much as it should, but when I look at like a Diane Lane and she's like, gorgeous at like 60, or Jane Seymour, who, if you ever seen Wedding Crashers, it's like lots of beautiful women in that movie. And my main takeaway was, man, Jane Seymour, like she didn't have to be as young as she was when she was Solitaire, but different discussion for another time. But she asks if her Bond knew her husband. He says, well, all too briefly. And we have some little back and forth here. What do you do? Oh, I'm in life insurance. That's a little late for that. Well, for him, but not for you. She says, how can you talk like this? Can't you see that I'm grieving? And he says, no. Which is great. It's 100% true, though. But yeah, it's just like, no, I can't see that. Later that night, back at her home, people are already waiting to kill her. Like, that fast, man. You got to jump right to it, And here's another debate I see about this, and I'm not even sure why I see it being debated, because I don't think that there's anything to it, like, kind of a thing, but people go back and forth. I think it's pretty clear. Does she know when she's walking and she has her drink and all that someone's about to kill her? I think it's pretty obvious that she does.
Oh, yeah. She's gone outside to go to, I don't know if it's a pool, just some kind of like giant water feature.
Like a fountain kind of thing.
Yeah, something along those lines. And then But yeah, it's clear she's got a drink in hand. She knows there's people in the house already. You can't really miss them walking past her. So it's like, yeah, she's fully aware that she's already dead.
Yeah, she knows it's going to happen. She is trembling without even turning around. And it kind of seems like she goes to like a peaceful area to be like, well, I'll look at the fountain that I like for when they shoot me, because at least that'll be like a nice last thing to see. I don't see any argument against it. Some other people are like, no, she doesn't know. I'm like, are you watching it? Like, thankfully, when she hears gunshots, she's not dead. The goons are, because Bond's there. She says he's crazy. There's going to be 100 more people waiting for her. All he did was buy her 5 minutes. And he goes, well, excellent. Time for a drink. That's Bond. Great Bond.
Hardened, completely doesn't care about life. Gotta love it.
And charming in the sense of, I just murdered a couple people. You're afraid for your life. Let's have a drink and chat it up a little bit and flirt and everything. That's Bond right there. It's like, all right, yeah, now he's Bond. No, I'm just kidding. She knows that. Oh, go ahead.
Is there any flirtation in this? Not really. Yeah, because I'm just gonna like spoil my overall thought to this entire thing. This is so weak. This entire I don't think the killing of the goons because she was going to die, that's weak. Everything that follows it is really weak because and again it's not something that's gone away with the Daniel Craig era, but I thought they were making real strides with it. But I'm tired of women being used as plot devices. And it is the women in this movie that get used as plot devices predominantly. It's the idea that she's only there for Bond to fuck and to slightly extend the storyline. There's no reason for him to fuck her. There is no reason for him to fuck her other than the fact that just Bond wants to. Yeah, and there's no reason for her to fuck him because he even admits she fucking killed her husband. No, again, she didn't love her. He didn't love his husband, but as she said, he's put a death warrant on her, and she still fucks him. It's just like, I know it's the idea that Bond's attractive and Bond is suave and charismatic, but there's no logical explanation about why she would fuck him in this scenario. And it's too much of a leap for me. If it was like, okay, you build it up after a couple of scenes where maybe he comes back to her place after this and then like she realizes and they discuss things and then they get flirtatious and all that other stuff and it leads to wherever it leads and that's something. But this is all happens in the span of like Monica Bellucci's role in this movie is covered within 10 minutes. And
I'll make the argument for it in saying, well, she says she knows that Bond killed her husband, and he says he was an assassin. Trust me, he wouldn't take it personally. And she slaps him and says, "You signed my death warrant," like Callum had said. But they do have this discussion. She didn't love him, but he trusted her to be silent about things. And now that he's gone. She's totes dead. But there is kind of that like. I think Rob had coined the "thank God we're alive" sex kind of thing. Like, he did just save her life at the same time, too. Technically speaking, as they said, signed a death warrant, whatever. But she wasn't clearly living a life where she was feeling that way about Marco. And he does eventually afterward, which I think that maybe it would have been better if they would have said this beforehand. But he does say, I'm going to be the number of Felix Leiter. He's going to be able to help you and protect you. It might have been better if he would have said that before they have sex. But then I guess that's like it halts the momentum of the scene or something. I don't know. Because they go more into the idea of like she fills Bond in on the organization and says that Marco spent more time with that than her. And Bond says he was a fool. And then, they bang. But like, not only is he attractive, not only is she not feeling that love for her husband anymore, not only is she kind of like feeling a rush of momentum and stuff, but I think it's maybe a little bit of the White Knight kind of thing going on. Ultimately, she does just basically say, here's where you can go meet up, which if you got rid of her part in the movie and Bond just happened about that information in another way, you can justify taking her out. But how good does she look in that corset, though? You know, so.
Well, yeah. Again, it's just she is incredibly good looking, and she is like fairly well known in just like the overall acting sphere. That makes me feel like it's just odd that her character is just fairly inconsequential. I mean, it's weird because it's consequential because she tells Bond where to go, but it's inconsequential because she doesn't have. There literally could be a million other ways that he finds out that information.
Yeah, but I think there's so many of these throughout the series where it's just like, did this need to happen? No. But it's here, and it gives Bond a chance to make sure the magic is still in the penis. You know.
I feel like there's more of a justification for this being in here. Not only just plot-wise, but also there's, you know, political benefits and everything when it comes to, like, now people go, oh, okay, you know, the oldest Bond woman, and, like, we can feel more comfortable about our age, and, you know, you could be sexy at 51, and, like, the positives when it comes to that, too. But I feel like there's more justification for this part in the script than the entire character of BB Doll in For Your Eyes Only.
Yeah, but I don't want to try and judge it as like, oh, this is worse, so this means that this is fine.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not fine. It just means that it's better than a really shit thing in another movie.
For Christ's sake, Tony, we do enough of that on the other platform. I'm not doing it here.
Right.
Yeah. I know,
she's not as justified as, like, Natalia in GoldenEye, where it's like, yeah, okay, she's part of the plot, you know? Like,
but I think it's just the way that I interpret it. It's just the case that, like, she should be mad at this guy, regardless of the fact of, like, how she was feeling towards her husband, or how good looking and, like, charismatic he is. It's the fact that, like, he essentially just walks in, she slaps him across the face because of what he was saying and what he's done and stuff like that, and then he just slowly backs her into a wardrobe, and then just, you know, penis activates, and it's all good. But it's just a case of, yeah, it seems it's very creepy, almost. The fact that he basically goes into there almost knowing that he's going to fuck her, regardless of what she says or what she does. I kind of don't like that, especially in this iteration when we have some very sophisticated and like more meaningful relationships that are formed between Bond and the Bond girl. Like, in this case, it doesn't feel like Bond has any respect for her.
It is kind of creepy. It is kind of taking advantage in a little way. Like, I mean, it's another one of those things where he's like, you know, he's pinned her up against the wall. Like, there's, it's just a very Connery scene.
Yeah, this doesn't, like, endear me to the character. And again, Bond himself is not always an endearing character. Obviously he's an assassin, and he is incredibly violent, and not in many cases not a very nice person. But it's just a case of, you don't have to go above and beyond to make me feel like, okay, he's a complex character and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, but I don't need him to be essentially forcing himself on a woman, and even if the woman eventually, like, reciprocates, I don't really need to see that sort of build up. Why can't they start talking and stuff like that, and she just kind of, like, I don't want to say, like, initiates it, but is a bit more, like, involved in the process than just being essentially forced against the wall, and then you just, like, you're basically backed up against the wall, and you just go, like, okay, let's just do this anyway, right? Like, it's not like, oh, it's not pussy galore. Let's get one thing straight in that regard. It's not that level, but it does feel a little bit like she felt a little bit, I don't say pressured, but a little bit coerced into it.
Like, if you're doing a rewrite and you're adding in it should be 008 instead of 009 type of a thing, you could add 2 lines of dialogue where she says something. Again, I'm doing this on a whim, so the dialogue's not going to be as great as if I actually workshopped it, but, like, kind of like well, what's a widow to do when there's no man around the house to pleasure her the way that she deserves, kind of a thing. I mean,
that's really just like transitioning into porn, softcore porn now.
Right, but you know what, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like as good as if I would actually, like, just sit down and think about it. But that kind of implication of, like, you killed my husband, you want to take care of me in this kind of way, like, you're the plumber, kind of like. Did you order sausage piece?
Oh no, my robe just fell. My robe just fell off. What am I doing?
And then you just hear like the intro for like Brazzers or something. I don't know. Like,
lucky for you, I've got a golden gun.
He's like, I've got a powerful weapon. I'm not going to charge you $1 million a shot this time. I might use one of those bolts on you, and that'd be a pity.
Don't worry, I'm shooting blanks.
She's like, what? And he goes, well, a couple years ago, this guy smashed me in the balls, so I'm going to know another day. Yeah, that's the end of Sciarra's character. That's the end of Sciarra. Anybody named Sciarra in this movie. And Bond heads over to the meeting place. He gets in by showing them the ring with the octopus on it, and he identifies himself as Mickey Mouse. So, at some point, when Disney owns the franchise...
That would be an amazing crossover. Mickey is Blofeld.
Like, it's Bond! James Bond!
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Yeah. No, that'd be goofy doing that part.
Gosh, Mr. Bond.
Yeah.
No, Daffy. I mean, not Daffy. Donald is definitely like the Bond villain out of that franchise.
He could be, God, like the Blofeld kind of a bunch.
I don't think Donald would be a good Blofeld just because he's not serious enough.
So who would Donald be a good one of then? We're going down this rabbit hole. Why not?
Whitaker probably. Like he's crazy to a degree and stuff like that. So him being super aggressive in that regard.
So he's just got instead of like Genghis Khan as Whitaker, it's Donald.
I mean, which Bond villain has the most like unintelligible accent?
Off the top of my head, I'm blanking. I mean, there's people
probably
that
Christoph Walken.
I was thinking he could probably do the walk-in character.
I can't do the thing I was going to try to do. I'm happiest in the saddle with the Donald Duck voice. I can't apparently pull that off.
No one could do. I mean, there are a few
really
talented impressionists that can do that. But...
I can't imagine being able to do Donald Duck as Christopher Walken. Yeah, if you can, figure out a way to send us an audio of that or something. Well, drop a comment below. Put a.
And admittedly, if I was doing Donald Duck as Christopher Walken, I would just be doing the more cowbell line.
Tell us who you think these characters would be. That'd be great. God, we should just do a podcast about that at some point.
What Disney James Bond?
Just like, hey, who would be this character? That kind of thing. That's always fun. These people in this conference are talking about pharmaceuticals and human trafficking and the fact that insulin costs so much money. Or no, they're not talking about that, but they're pretty much involved in that. The Global Surveillance Initiative, 5G, who killed JFK, all these kind of things.
The music the kids are listening to nowadays.
Yeah, that rap stuff that, it's to blame for everything. Why is Grand Theft Auto the reason why we have all these problems? What's the conspiracy with aglets, according to the question over in
We've launched a new initiative where you can make money on Twitch by sitting in a hot tub.
That seems like something that they very much did.
They're behind that the bathtub girl selling her bath water, whatever.
Bell thing.
Yeah. So one of them,
she's a sleeper agent.
Yeah.
Crazier things have happened.
In comes some ominous figures. One of them is the head of the table. It's not Roman Reigns, but again, it's a mark-out moment. Everybody respectfully stands, and he just says, "Let me interrupt you." It's a little bit different from number 2.
It would have been a little bit better if he had an accent.
Just the mere presence of this man makes the woman who was previously speaking visibly tense and nervous, which is kind of cool. Because it's just like, all right, this dude just came in and he just sits down and he's got this quiet voice and it's just like, fuck, I don't know what to say. Turns out that the Pale King needs to be terminated. So they call up Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he comes in and he goes, Sciarra isn't there to do it anymore. Somebody has to pick up the slack. I like the guy, by the way, who is giving this speech about, like, somebody has to do it. Who do you think can do it? That kind of guy. I don't know the character's name at all, but there's something to that actor that I really like, of him very casually being like, since Senor Sciarra has been taken out, that leaves some responsibilities up for grabs, or whatever he says. I'm a big fan of that dude. I'd like to see him in something else. Another guy's tasked with it. He throws some shade about how there's not going to be any more amateurs anymore. He's got this shit. But our mysterious guy brings up the idea of, does anybody challenge him? Mr. I'm not an amateur for the position. And somebody does. This big hulking brute, played by Dave Bautista, known as Mr. Hinks. And when he's asked to state his credentials, he just kills the dude. He pokes out his eyeballs and snaps his neck and sits down in the chair. Badass.
Now, I love everything Bautista did in this movie. I know, shocking. But honestly, sometimes wrestlers in movies don't translate well. I feel like Bautista was groomed for this very role in his days as like the heavy for Triple H and Ric Flair, and he's doing it in the suit. Everything he's doing here, I feel like his whole career had led up to at this point.
Minus the fact that he's not doing a Bautista bomb.
That was a missed opportunity.
That, like, when they announced that he was going to be in it, this is before he's kind of proven himself in more ways. And I was just like, I don't know. But maybe. And then in this one scene, I'm like, all right, I'm on board. That's cool.
I don't know. I like this introduction to the character. I just don't know. Again, his character feels so pointless in the whole movie to a degree. Again, I know there's certain henchmen and stuff like that are just there for, I guess, some degree of like there's been a lot of henchmen, especially in the Bond in the Craig era, who are just there to do some really cool stunts, and that's just to make the movie a little bit more fun and exciting. And I just feel like this character needed to be a bit more, I don't know, dynamic, or needs to have more reason for being like, what was his purpose? What was his goal? What was his intention? Anything like that. He's just there to be a musclehead, essentially. And it's a good musclehead. And I know that's like something that's familiar in the Bond franchise, but I just feel like it's really old fashioned at this point to have a character like that, who's just there to be a musclehead.
Well, I think we can all agree, now that we've talked about it a little bit in the beginning, this should have been Dwayne Johnson carrying on the role of Peter Maivia.
Yeah, just, you know.
Well, I wanted to get some sort of impression of why he decided that he was going to kill the guy and take this role. Or at least get some sort of, why is he obsessed with dealing with Bond? Or what is his overall involvement in all this stuff, rather than just being a giant heavy who works to Spectre.
See, I don't take it as that he's obsessed with getting that Bond. I take it as more of he saw his opportunity to climb up the corporate ladder and he took it.
Yeah, but why?
Why not?
Again, that's like...
So he likes to make grilled cheese sandwiches, right? But there's this zombie apocalypse coming.
Well, it's just along the lines of, like, I don't like the fact that he's pretty much mute for the entire movie.
Bautista is a little too charismatic to be a mute.
Well, yeah, to a degree, but it's just also, I just want to know why he was there. Because it just feels like, and it's the same with like the other thing as well. This movie's 2.5 hours long, and everything that Bautista does, like some of the stuff that Bautista does is cool. It's just a case like he just doesn't need to be there. He's got no agency in this movie at all. He's a character that's completely missable in this entire movie. Like, if you take him out of this movie, it doesn't affect the plot one bit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's the henchman, the heavy for action sequences, and that's about it. Just to have somebody for Bond to fight.
Yeah, and it just feel like we could just have like a multitude of probably lesser paid actors doing that role instead. Yeah, it's just that, like, again, I don't dislike who he's trying to be. I just feel like he's a really weak interpretation of someone like a Jaws or an Oddjob.
Oh, he's definitely nowhere near compared to Jaws or Oddjob, for sure. Like, nobody's going to be like, all right, we got to pick the most memorable henchman. Let's go with Hinks over Mayday or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, exactly. But I just feel like we shouldn't be settling for this then.
I'll take him over Patrice.
Well, yeah, there's definitely been like hundreds of Bond villains and henchmen that are worse than Hinks, but I just don't think these are particularly good interpretation of the character of the role that he's playing.
So far, you guys haven't ranked like the allies and the henchmen and all that. We're going to do that on probably the next episode of this podcast. So eventually we'll have like rankings for these things, but I've got Hinks right now at number 32. I might switch it up a little bit, but I've got him like below, say, Gobinda. I think Gobinda's overall a little bit better of a character, but I have him above Emil Locke from For Your Eyes Only.
He would be... I enjoyed the fight he had with Bond, and I think he plays his role very well, so he would be mid-range for me. I don't know exactly where at this point, but he would be in the middle range. It bothers me that he's lacking in character, but he's also just there to be the heavy.
Like, I think that Teehee, for instance, is
Great
overall a way better character.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's weird because I mentioned it like the top of the movie. This feels like it's more of a transition to a more classic style Bond movie. And then watching this, and even though I've enjoyed obviously the journey throughout, and I've enjoyed the more classic style Bond movies. Now it feels like now we've had Casino Royale and Skyfall. Like going to a more traditional Bond movie, it feels like it's such a backward step to me. It feels like it's retread. Like we've done that, we've moved forward now, and this is a new era for Bond. Like again, like all the classic stuff is great, but I don't want the classics all the time because otherwise it just becomes stale. Like I'm not a fan of I can't remember off the top of my head, Force Awakens, because it's just a retread. It's just a crappy retread of A New Hope.
Well, you know how I feel about those movies.
Yeah, I know exactly. I didn't want to say The Last Jedi or anything like that, but
Jedi
but just like I watched The Force Awakens, I just feel like okay, this is just A New Hope when I'm totally not invested in the characters. It's just like, and it feels like this movie is like okay, let's go back and do the more quote unquote classic Bond movies. I'm just going like, yeah, but you've evolved beyond that point. Why are you going backwards now?
Very much, I do agree. Like I said, my one takeaway from this film, I told Tony, okay, they just were like, hey, let's do Bond. And I can agree that maybe we're beyond that at this point. But this is also around the time where nostalgia starts to get hot, and it's, hey, let's do the classics because people are really thirsting for the classics.
I look at it kind of as a holding pattern. I think that they realized they had strayed way too far from the formula in some ways. And this was their attempt to go back to it, but they didn't know how they were going to repackage the formula yet. Because if you make a couple changes to Spectre, I think it's a potentially great Bond film. It's just that there's something done better in every single other fashion. Like, Hinks is a lesser Jaws. And we're going to get to Madeleine later. Madeleine is a lesser Tracy. And the main villain is a lesser, we'll get into that. And it's kind of like every part of it is, well, we did it better in this one, but let's do something similar to see which things work and which things don't work. And when you copy and paste something, but you don't quite do it the same way, do you ever like cheat off at somebody's test, but you purposely get a couple answers wrong just so it's not obvious that you cheated?
Well, I have never done that. That's become a very popular meme. Hey, can I borrow your homework? Yeah, but make sure you change a few things.
Not everybody's done this. I did this shit all the time.
No, I was good at school.
No, I was either good at school, or if I wasn't good, I just said fuck it and didn't do it. Like, I never felt the need to, let me try this Joker's thing. Yeah,
I was like one of the. I don't want to brag on it, but I was one of the top students in my school. If I was cheating off someone else's test, I'd be worse than if I did it on my own.
Oh, I mean, I was an honor society member, but I didn't want to bother to do the work on some of the ones I didn't bother to.
Yeah, but I'm not going to cheat off I'm not going to cheat off someone else who's like shit at it. Am I?
Yeah. That's very on brand for you, Callum. So I like that answer.
Yeah, if I can't trust anyone else to do the work, then I've got to do it myself eventually.
And I like this movie. I like that they went back to tradition. I just feel like they didn't do as good of a job as they could have. And Hanks is like in a position where, yeah, I like him better than Patrice by far. But he's not going to rank up higher than, 30 something, because it's still like, yeah, well, I like Whisper better, and I like Teehee better, and I like Zhao better as a henchman, for instance. And Zhao's in Die Another Day, so it's like, Necros. Really? Yeah, I've got Zhao at number 20.
Yeah, I can't get on board with that. I think I prefer Bautista to Zhao, but I get what you're saying.
I think it may be one of those things that I have a higher almost expectation for these movies now. Like, because we've progressed so much, and we, like, as like just an overall society, we have different interpretations of how characters should be developed and what should be done in movies to a degree. The sort of things that I would forgive the more classic or old school Bond movies for, I don't want to forgive in this one because we know better now.
Fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, the Mysterious Man.
You have really liked the Craig movies the most, I think, Callum.
Oh, absolutely. Just I think that these movies are just better. They're better. They're better movies. They tell better stories, I think, than the other ones, which are more like, oh, this is super fun. These cool action scenes all put together and stuff like that. I think these is just, it's a more coherent, well-told story.
Well, then we start getting into some of the negatives with that, where they go, everything's got to connect, and everything's, we're gonna.
Yeah, it's a little. I don't feel like there needs to be this massive as we'll discuss. I don't think there needs to be this massive long-term connection between James Bond and Blofeld. What's the point? It's like the Luke, I'm your father type thing. That like not every movie needs to be Luke, I am your father. That sort of stuff.
Not even Empire is Luke, I am your father.
I know, it's fuck off.
I had to.
Last Jedi was better than The Force Awakens. There we go.
So the mysterious guy says, "Welcome, James." He knows not only that Bond is there, but even where he's standing in the crowd. And he calls him a cuckoo, which he'll get back to a little bit later on. And we eventually cue the action sequence of Bond escaping. Mr. Hanks hasn't done enough killing people for today, so he's the primary guy that goes after Bond in the car chase. And it turns out that a bunch of the gadgets in the car don't work. The ammunition isn't loaded in the rear guns. The atmosphere button just puts on Frank Sinatra. It's New York, New York. It's kind of fun little gags. Not my favorite stuff, but at the same time, I laughed.
I quite like it. I like when you can like inject a bit of humor into these movies with that sort of stuff. I love that it's just that atmosphere. Like you just clicked atmosphere and just hoping for the best, because what the fuck could atmosphere mean?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, it's set the atmosphere for 009, and it's just like this big band music starts playing, and it's just like, oh, that's. I just like how Bond is so visibly frustrated about everything that's going on. I also like the fact that like this is apparently like this is all ready for 009's takeout, and it's just like, oh, but it's not loaded.
Yeah,
like we're going to do that when he got there or something like that to show him how to load the bullets into the car.
But they went out of their way to put the 009's taste in music in there, which is funny because it's like, we get some character development of 009. He likes that song, like that's what he's driving around. Bond's listening to. Well, Bond's probably humming a theme song in his head. We established that. I think he's just going dang 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 dang. But 009's got like a ba ba da da da. Anyway, they go through this whole long thing. Bond calls up Moneypenny in the way, and we get to see her place. And she's got a dude in bed with her. Ooh, this is where like the, if we're on a sitcom, it would be like the audience was doing that. Now, when I saw the film, I thought that this meant more. I thought he looked so much like Andrew Scott that there was an implication that she was sleeping with C. Turns out it's just a guy. It's just nothing. But I was just like, oh, she's banging Max Denbigh. This is going to come into the plot. Just one of those things that's like, man, I got the wrong interpretation of something while watching it for the first time, and then ended up being really disappointed that I was like, okay, well, he's just a guy.
I mean,
I can't blame them for that. I blame myself, obviously, but
I kind of appreciate it's just a guy, because Moneypenny just like as she talks about James, just she has a life outside of this stuff as well. Just like I just like the fact that Bond is a little perturbed, but he's not like he's not like he's like angry or anything like that. It's just like, oh yeah, we don't fuck, so just I fuck other people, you fuck other people. Maybe eventually we'll fuck. We'll see how it goes, type thing.
But there is this kind of thing where, despite the fact that they're not in a relationship together, he is a little kind of like jealous or something. He's like, who's that at this time of night? Yeah,
it's something like she gets a little bit jealous and stuff like that when he talks about like in Skyfall when he talks about like the Severine at the party and stuff like that. So like if you're into that sort of thing,
she's pretty into that sort of thing.
Yeah. So they have that little banter about it, but it's nothing like. But I like the fact that he's so curious about it.
Yeah. It's a great little Moneypenny kind of moment, which I've been missing in some of the other ones, That turns out that the Pale King is Mr. White from the previous films.
You don't say. White Pale? No.
His first name is V. So Bond wants her to check into Franz Oberhauser before and after his death. And Moneypenny later sees that Hans and Franz, not the SNL characters, died in an avalanche, but Franz's body wasn't recovered. This all ends up, coming about with Bond's able to get some of the stuff to work with the car. The exhaust shoots out some flames. The ejector seat works, and he pops out and gets away from Bautista. Not my favorite car chase, but works.
Yeah, I thought it was fairly light-hearted in places. Again, that's a bit more of a return to form, but I kind of think that there's room for more humour in these movies every now and again. And I mean, we missed out the fact that like him pushing a Fiat 500 down a narrow road just to try and get that out of the way. And that was like a return to again more-esque elements in the movie, but I'm totally fine with that. So again, it's not the most memorable or thrilling car chase of all time, but I kind of thought it was more characterful than some other ones. So I liked it overall.
Yeah, middle of the road for me. No, nothing really hit here.
Middle of which road? The one that was really tiny, where he's pushing.
Damn it! I didn't want to use that phrase because you were going to do that. Ugh.
Middle of the road, just like that Fiat 500 was.
See, this is why I get Q making himself laugh, because I do it constantly. Anyway, I got a note here to move on to the Mr. White stuff and talk about Reservoir Dogs. Mr. Black is not one of the characters. So we got Mr. Brown, we got Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink. Mr. Black. The Nine Eyes have cast their votes 8-1 in favor, but since it's not a unanimous vote, they can't progress any forward.
Okay, this made me sound like this is going to be a weird thing to nitpick. This is like nitpickable nitpicks. Why is South Africa part of this giant collaboration effort? It just feels like it's such a... I imagine there should be some sort of like African representation, obviously, and stuff like that, but it just feels weird that it's South Africa.
That's the one that they focus on instead of it being like, we attacked Germany or like one of those kind of things?
It just feels like the 9 countries... It's not like South Africa's part of any big... They're not like a massive contributors like the UN or anything like that. They're not part of like these big G7 meetings and stuff like that. Just feels weird that that's the country that's like the one that's vetoing this whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was some kind of tie-in with like, let's give a little bit of a boost to that or something for like the, like the movie said about like China with like different things.
Maybe I just think like if you're going with a country from that continent, you go to someone like Egypt or something. Maybe that's just how I ranked it in my top 10, like African countries type thing. It's just South Africa would be high on that list, but it just feels like maybe it's just the fact that they're like predominantly English speaking. Maybe they thought that was the way to go.
Tell us your top 10 African countries in the comments below. Everybody's got their lists, right? I mean, I got plenty of lists on Evernote. I don't have one about that, though. I'll have to get around to that.
Literally, one of my top 10 is Chad because it's Chad. That's
such a Chad.
Yeah, exactly.
Cucumbers for Bond.
Madagascar because of the talking penguins.
Yeah,
of course.
That lion. He says that he's still in London, even though he's definitely in Austria. And Bond heads to a cabin, and he gets scared by some birds. Not pigeons this time, though. Funny enough. It's ravens. We know, at the very least, in the past, he used to have that big feud with those pigeons. They're pretty high up on the villains list.
Yeah. They take good double takes. I don't know if ravens can take good double takes.
They're more of a one-shot kind of deal, They're one and done.
Yeah.
He gets past this false mirror. He sees this other area, and Mr. White's hiding out in there with a bunch of monitors hooked up to an IV drip, and he very clearly just out of it in a lot of ways. He even says, "Do me a favor, make it quick." But Bond just says, "Meet me upstairs." And White says a good line. "I always knew Death would wear a familiar face, but not yours." I also like that Bond says he was in a meeting and White's name came up, and White's like, "Oh, I'm flattered that London's still talking about me." And he goes, "Nope, not your people, not my people, your people." White explains he found thallium in his cell phone. It's already poisoned him. He has weeks, if that, before he's dead. And this happened because he disobeyed, quote, him. Essentially, we get this like half-assed redemption arc for Mr. White because he does the thing that's like the easiest thing to do. The two easiest things to do for a redemption arc in somebody is to say, that's where I draw the line for the villain stuff. It shouldn't affect women and children. And then to die on behalf of somebody else. And of course he says, well, he disobeyed him because our game is our game, but this, women and children were getting in danger and that kind of thing. So it's the first step towards we should be more sympathetic to this guy. And he also eventually reveals he's got a daughter. So now we go, oh, okay, now he's got a daughter. Now I care about him, instead of being like, why didn't Bond cap this fucker in the last two films? You know what I mean? Like, but I don't dislike it. I just think it's kind of poorly done a little bit. Bond offers to help keep her alive, gives him his word. And White, rightfully so, says, your word? The word of an assassin? Like, dude, you fucking shot me in the leg. We have been at odds with each other for years. I am a part of the organization that had fucked up your entire life, essentially, with the whole Vesper thing. What word is this useful for? And Bond just offers him a gun. So,
and he takes the offer.
He points it at Bond, and Bond's totally calm. So that makes him just believe him. Just like, all right, well, he gave me the gun, and he's not flinching and bashing my face in or something. So there's a meaning behind it all. It's something that I think could have been done a little bit better, but it's something. It's kind of neat. It's better than if it would have just been another character, I think. So I'm glad that they brought back Mr. White for this. And finishing up here before we backtrack and talk about it a little bit, he tells him if he finds his daughter at the Hoffler Clinic, she can take him to L'Americaine. Calls Bond a kite dancing in a hurricane, and he just goes, so long. Boom, shoots himself. I wouldn't want my final words to be so long.
Well, you did call me a kite dancing in a hurricane. I hope that's not where your head's at.
So, I mean, we're going to talk retroactively about Mr. White as the movie goes on, but that's the end of a character that we've seen as a bit player in this organization and this whole kind of thing going forward. It's his way to go out. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it does tie up a loose end that's kind of been wavering around since Quantum of Solace, because he doesn't make any real appearance in Skyfall or anything like that, so nothing meaningful regardless. So I think it needed to be tied up a little bit, because essentially whenever it comes to henchmen or anything to that regard, they usually end up dying at some point in the franchise. So tying it up, but also giving him, I guess, agency moving forward for the rest of the movie, because essentially he's still a part of the movie in some fashion for the remainder of it. So I feel like this was a good way to bring the character to a close, but still have his influence felt for what will end up being the remainder of the Bond franchise. Or this part of the Bond franchise, should I say. Not the overall thing, but like the Craig section at the very least.
Yeah, and I would assume... Has Craig said No Time to Die is his final?
Yeah, it's definitely... He's not going to do any more after that.
Well, then yeah, this was a big character in his series of movies, and overall, I think it was a pretty decent character arc.
And of course, we get more elaboration on his character through another one later on. First off, though, M and C have another discussion about the Nine Eyes, and it's not suspicious at all when Max is like, it's only a matter of time before South Africans see the light. Yeah, because you're going to orchestrate a terrorist attack and spook them, you fucking idiot. Like, that's very obvious. You would think that M would be smart enough to be like, what do you mean by that, Max? Kind of like, are you going to pull the trigger? I think that could have been done a little bit better. They also have a discussion, though. Go ahead.
I was saying it is a little bit like plain to see that this guy's obviously not just like one of your pencil pushing bureaucrats who's just trying to get in everyone's way. It's more of a case like, yeah, this guy's seriously bad.
Yeah, if you haven't suspected him at that point yet, that line is the one that makes you go, something's up with this guy. Although, of course, for me, the first time watching this, I'm like, why is Moneypenny's boy toy doing this? Because I still thought that was him. They have a discussion about the whole the Bond's purpose kind of a thing, and is backing him up quite a bit here. He's talking about the idea that like a license to kill is also a license not to kill, and somebody like Bond is the reason why you make those judgment calls. You can't trust a drone to be able to know what to do in that kind of a moment. You're pushing a button. Somebody else is controlling that. You don't have that kind of face-to-face gut instinct type of a thing, and that's why you need somebody like a James Bond. Franchise is kind of like justifying itself, but when we got Fast and Furious 9, I don't think that we really need to justify it in that kind of way, but it's a way to do it. And C points out that with the surveillance, that they are spying on everybody, including MI6 agents. They watched Moneypenny and Bond chat it up, even on that burner phone, which is kind of threatening. Big Brother and all that shit. 5G.
Yeah,
whatever.
It shows the extent of his reach, which is something that would worry people that are less, I don't say like less sophisticated, but are wary, even if they don't think that he's like bad, just wary of the extent at which he knows things and he's getting involved in everything.
I'd imagine in like a spoof film or, just a flat out like SNL skit based off of this or something, it would have been like, for the rest of the movie, M is walking around with a tinfoil hat being like, they're all spying on you, Bohemian Grove is a thing. Like, just kind of, the Illuminati's real. I mean, they kind of are, Spectre in this. Eventually, Hinks shows up, ready to kill Mr. White, and sees he's already dead, so can't really do that. But he manages to check the security cameras, and Bond I don't know why, didn't bother erasing any of that footage and stuff. Bond's just stupid for the sake of the plot.
Reckless, not caring about life. Maybe he wants to fight Hanks. You know?
It's a mano.
Yeah. And again, it does feel like, it's a low attention to detail, which doesn't really fit Bond's MO, but it's just a case of maybe he wasn't aware there was a security camera there.
Oh, he saw that when he was going in.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Did he see the one that was specifically watching him and White discuss things? Or did he just see the one that was like outside?
Oh, I don't know if they make a point to show that he sees like that specific one, but he can see all the TV monitors and stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, he knows that. I guess if he does work for Spectre, he like knows that this guy is like looking around different places and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe it's just a case that he just forgot or just didn't pay attention to that specific one, and that's what's ended up costing him. Because at the end of that, he did just watch a guy shoot himself in the head, so can
he's
be
cool
a bit
about
distracting. It can be a bit distracting, maybe.
Reminiscent of Her Majesty's Secret Service, that clinic is on a snowy mountaintop. There's a lot of OHMSS in this movie. Maybe that's one of the reasons why some of it doesn't land for me. Bond meets up with...
It didn't land for Callum either. So.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a great movie in general in certain elements, but I liked it. And it was missing a lot of indoctrinated women.
He meets up with Dr. Madeleine Swann, Mr. White's daughter. She gives him a questionnaire, and they have this back and forth. Do you exercise? When I have to. Is your employment psychologically stressful? Sometimes. How much alcohol do you consume? Too much. Were you close with your parents? My parents died when I was young. How old? Old enough to remember. We also get a quick glimpse of the part of the questionnaire that he's already filled out. I paused it on my screen to take a look at it. He gave himself a 2 for Are You Scared? A 2 for Are You Regretful? A general temper mood of a 6 out of 10. And he leaves his occupation blank, as she points out. And she says, why did you leave it blank? And he says, well, it doesn't really look good on a form. I kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, yeah, you probably don't want to put that on a form. It's true.
Mm.
He tells her dad's dead. He didn't kill him. He didn't have to. He did it himself. And she thinks that he came all the way there just to tell her. Which would be like, man, how rude is that? I killed your dad. Kind of a thing. Like,
just gloats about it.
Yeah. Daddy's dead and I shot him. Like, that kind of thing. He mentions L'Americain. She tells him to leave. Security's going to come, do that kind of thing. It's just she wants no parts of this whatsoever. Down at the bar, he orders a vodka martini, shaken, not stirred, which we get the line. It's like, hey, okay, he does the line now. That kind of thing. Bartender says they don't serve alcohol. And Bond just says, I'm really starting to love this place. Q, though, he has no problem with this. He walks up and he orders a prolific digestive enzyme shake. That can't be good.
It's probably just a Chaos movie or something.
Yeah, I didn't read too much into it.
You're not selling me on the prolific digestive enzyme shake as being like, that sounds,
It's probably just like a muscle milk or something, like some kind of.
Yeah, that sounds
protein shake
better though.
Yeah, but he's cute, so he's got to be
right. All nerdy and shit.
My biggest question is like, how did Q get there? He doesn't like flying.
He's cute. He's got a gadget for that.
He's got the crocodile submarine. Yeah, he kind of implies that he's working on it, I guess. Maybe he put together a better version of the car. But he
drove all the way to Austria.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can drive.
He took a leave to come drag Bond back because Oberhauser's dead. Stop looking into it. And if you don't turn back now, Q and Moneypenny are going to lose their jobs because C is real dickwad, basically. And Bond gives him the ring, says, check this out. I'll talk to you later. I'm not going to do that, basically. But Q says he's staying at the Pevsner Hotel, which is a reference to the associate and executive producer, Tom Pevsner, who had died prior to the production of the film. So I think that's nice. You just throw a little bit like, R.I.P. Tom. Give his name in there. And Bond, when the bartender gives him the shake, he says, do me a favor, pour that down the toilet, cut out the middleman.
That's about he's forcing him to, like, once they forced him to, like, encouraging him to actually go to the toilet rather than the sink, probably right next to him. It's just like, yeah, I've got to take the extra step of walking to the bathroom and actually just pouring this down.
Okay, sir, the customer's always right. Hank says there, he starts taking out security, fight sequence and all that. Bond eventually just tells one to stay, like a dog. Just stay, you know. It's,
he does that a lot in this franchise.
You know, call back in a sense to when Bond says to the tiger, sit. You know? You remember which movie that was?
I can't remember the one with the circus, but I'm thinking it's the one with the circus.
Yeah, so would it be something like... Oh, is it a more one? It sounds like it's a more one.
It's a more one.
Octopussy.
Yeah. Oh, it's Octopussy.
Yeah, it's okay.
They're in India.
Yeah, that's the one that they're based in India and stuff like that. For nice.
Yeah. It is kind of hard to keep track of something when you watch 25 movies 1 week by week. You know?
Literally, I can't remember most of the stuff that happened in like Doctor No and stuff like that. It just
yeah, I mean, like if I'm gonna say like, what's your favorite line of Pussfeller?
Yeah, and his name's Pussfeller. Like
that'll be interesting when you guys are doing your rankings on some of these things too, because you'll be like, man, Photograph Girl from Doctor No, where do I rank her? You know, like,
that's one of the reasons they haven't been done, because you got to go back and like really refresh your brain and make sure you have a good understanding of who these people are and where they fit.
That's why I did it while I was going along. It's just like, I mean, I know I remember it better, but you know.
Well, you have folders for folders.
Yeah, there's also a degree of like, even if you were doing it as you go along, it's like once you get to a certain point, you're like thinking, okay, where am I going to rank? I don't know. Like, it's like Mr. Hinks, where are we going to rank him in the henchman? Is he above or below this person that I can't remember from 3 months ago?
To be fair, though, I still don't have my African country list. So.
You're definitely working on it. I've got the 20 now.
I couldn't even name 20 countries that I'm thinking about.
Not even Africa, just 20 countries in general.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I might not be.
You are American, though. So it's like,
I'm an
all
ignorant
South
American.
America is Mexico. So
there's like 8 countries in the world, as far as I'm concerned. It's just sort of like, is that France? Is that Italy? It's, you know. What did you guys bring to the table? Belgium? Waffles? Okay, cool. You can stay. Like that kind of thing. I mean, I could go for a waffle right now, too. And some of those cookies from earlier. Anyway. Q scans the ring, sees that it's got DNA samples from all these characters that we've seen before, conveniently, and nobody else is really popping up because it's a movie and that's what you do. It's Dominic Green and Mr. White and Raul Silva and Le Chiffre. Madeleine's kidnapped. She has a brief moment of wrestling a syringe off of a guy and injecting him, but it doesn't matter at all because Hanks has a gun, but that's just her means to be like, oh, she can kind of take care of herself sort of thing. And we have this action sequence that's kind of like a car chase and an airplane chase. I don't know what you would constitute it, really. It's sort of both. Hanks ends up going through a windshield, but he's still alive. It's the movie monster finger twitch thing. It's a good shot, but, you know.
It's a great degree of, this is like a level of absurdity that you'd associate with some of the past Bond movies, in terms of like how this chase goes about, like this plane flying alongside all of these cars, and Bond essentially using the plane as a battering ram take out other cars, and to the point where like at one point he's flying behind them and both wings get sheared off by trees, and so he's essentially like steering half a plane through barns and stuff like that in order to keep chase with the cars and eventually knock them off the road.
It's very Roger Moore.
Yeah, again, it's like it's something that I would be I wouldn't bat an eyelid if it was in a Moore or Connery movie. It just feels like so left field for this type of movie. Because even though still the Bond franchise still does like stretch certain things to like unbelievable proportions, and they do like cool stunts that you wouldn't see like in real life or anything like that. There still seems to be some element of grounded in reality with that stuff, and this just felt like this just can't happen type thing.
This doesn't strike me as much Connery. It strikes me more at Brosnan.
Oh yeah, it would certainly hit me with those two more than. But I have seen stuff that. But there has been elements of the Connery movies where things like this will happen.
Yeah, the jetpack and Thunderball, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So yeah, but it certainly doesn't strike me with the more super realism aspect of the Craig movies.
Again, not one of my favorite action sequences.
No.
Madeleine wants nothing to do with Bond, quote unquote, saving her, and she's true in that she said, "You literally just led them to me."
It was all based on the trend that they set early in the movie. They're just going to fuck right there.
Now it takes an extra day for her to fall in love with him,
Well, that's okay. It had to recharge, It doesn't. It's magic, but it doesn't just work all the time.
We've managed to go from Italy to Austria. Surely it's like perked up at this point.
Oh, that took some of the energy.
So his penis has jet lag.
Yes.
They meet up with Q. They have a little bit of a chat. Madeleine knows the name of the organization. She says that it's Spectre, and it's the one that's behind Quantum and all that, because they couldn't use the name Spectre when they were doing Quantum of Solace. And then they eventually get the point, so they're like, yeah, fuck Quantum, because nobody cares a shit about that. Let's make it Spectre, because that's the good one, the one that people like. And it turns out that L'Americain is not a person, it's a place, a hotel specifically. Turns out that that's the hotel that Mr. White and Ms. White, or whatever her actual name would be, spent their wedding night there, and they went back every year after that, including with Madeleine, so that's why she knows where it is. And Bond just goes, well, then I'm sorry, because he starts trashing the place, looking for any kind of secrets. He finds a bottle of liquor. He refers to it as her inheritance. And he drinks it because he's Bond.
Well, she's already been plying herself with wine while he's been doing this anyway. So
yeah, she's already drunk, and she's like, hey, I'm not going to be falling into your arms seeking solace from my dead daddy. And I'll bury the lead in some way with Madeleine and talk about it here. I don't really like Madeleine a whole lot. I think her character is a lesser Tracy, and I think that Léa Seydoux, she's not the perfect person for this role. I like her better when, she was in Mission Impossible, and she was, a villain in that, and she strikes me better as that. I don't think that this was the right casting.
Yeah, I can't say in particular about the casting just because I don't know who I would have take on the role in particular. And I don't have super reservations about the character itself, but she seems like and again, this is one of the things that makes it difficult in my mind to rank this movie in general, is the fact that this is an incomplete movie. Because this is just the setup for No Time to Die.
Right.
And it's just if this was a one-off Bond movie where he just gets the girl and ends it in this kooky way inside a hot tub or something or anything along those lines, just okay, then that's fine. Madeleine was not the greatest Bond girl of all time, but she's there and she played her role. Whereas she's meant to be the woman that takes Bond away from all of this. And again, I know this is super just almost telling the entire rest of the movie in just a few sentences and stuff like that. But it's the fact that she's the one who's meant to be built up throughout this movie is the one of okay, Bond loves her and he's willing to give up the lifestyle that he's built up to be with this woman. I just feel like she's not strong enough. This character isn't strong enough for me to have that pull over him.
And we can't give them the benefit of the doubt and say, well, they knew that they were going to do another one, because they wrote this specifically in mind with, maybe we get to do another one, but if we can't, we're comfortable with this being the end. And I don't think that she pulls it off.
No, and I don't want to be harsh on her for it, because essentially I think she does the role as well as she can. And let me say, maybe another person would be able to pull it off there, but I just feel like the way it's written and the scenes that she's in, it doesn't make the bond between, the connection between Bond and Madeleine strong enough to justify his unbelievable attachment to her and her unbelievable attachment towards him that we're supposed to believe they have by the end of it. It's not Tracy, put it that way. It's not Vesper by any stretch of the imagination. Those feel like so much more organic, and the chemistry was there, and it felt like, okay, at this point I can see Bond being with this woman and being like that. Okay, that's the end of it for him. I could totally see that at the end of both of those movies. Whereas this one, I just feel like, yeah, they don't care. I don't believe they care about each other that much.
Mm-hmm. And this is supposed to be a scene that's supposed to be triggering that, okay, there's going to be something between these two. And instead it just feels more like animosity.
Yeah, and I understand it does feel like animosity, and this is supposed to be like the play, not I'd say playful, but like the beginnings of that spark coming with her saying, oh yeah, I won't fall for your charms, knowing full well that he's going to have his penis inside of her in like 5 scenes, essentially. Because I've watched 23 others of these movies, I know how this goes, essentially. But
he's like, well, I'm about 90%.
But I feel like they take the idea of the fact that she initially rejects him is like it's almost like that. Okay, that initial rejection means that this is more meaningful than other relationships, and it just doesn't work that way. It's a lazy attitude to take to that.
Lazy is exactly the word I was going to say.
Yeah,
lazy is this whole film, is it not? I mean, like, it's not bad, but it's very well. Hey, we're doing tradition. That's the movie. Isn't that good enough?
It feels like I know what you were saying with the idea that like if they were to end, like this is written in a way like, if we can do another movie, we can build off this. But if we need to end it like this, then that's totally fine. But I almost feel like if you did end it on this, I'd have such a lower interpretation of this film, and basically my overall interpretation of this film going forward is totally dependent on how No Time to Die goes.
Right.
And that's what, again, it's the benefit of the Craig franchise is that everything is interlinked, so it feels like a 5-part story, which I kind of appreciate rather than even though I like the one-off approach that most other Bond movies have taken. But it also means that I can't judge this movie yet because this movie isn't done. Because not every character, but a significant amount of the characters are coming back and doing this stuff over again and like building up to an actual conclusion. This leaves on a giant cliffhanger. And the reason why I don't rank it super highly is just the fact that I just don't feel like it was especially with Madeleine, it's not the right person to have this effect on Bond. And that's not because of her necessarily in the role, even though we've spoken about the fact that there might be someone who'd be better cast for it. It's just the fact that they didn't tell the story well enough to make it that point. And that's the most jarring thing about it, because you've told this story, you've had this character, you've had Vesper, like, you know how, like, you've got a blueprint in front of you. It's good about like how much of this stuff is taken or inspired by other Bond movies. You have that blueprint right there in front of you about how to make a character so like interwoven with what Bond, like interwoven in that way with Bond and build that sort of relationship. I know you don't want to do like Vesper Mark II. You need to have someone that's a little bit different, but she doesn't feel like she's connected to Bond. Just feels like, she has animosity towards it. They build up some sort of flirtation really, really unorganically and quickly. It goes from A to Z in a matter of like 2 scenes.
Yeah. And I think that actually is acting chemistry, because she has been better in other things. but I don't think that she has that kind of connection with Daniel Craig.
No, I can totally buy that sort of thing as well. But it's a mixture for me of the acting chemistry and the fact that they just don't tell.
They don't flesh her out well enough to begin with. Yeah,
they don't build their relationship strong enough. Like, it's not like you can only do so much within the course of even a 2.5 hour long movie and stuff like that. Especially if you've got other things to concentrate on besides just a love story. But they do it so much better in Casino Royale.
Like,
it doesn't end.
Maybe if you cut out the whole thing with C and you dedicate that time to more Bond and Madeleine, it might work better. But I still think that even just casting wise, I think that they could have gone with somebody better that would have worked.
Yeah.
Inherently better, just, pure magnetism.
Yeah. I think it's like, this is like, and I know you guys don't share my opinion with this, but it's just like, it's a typification of my problem with From Russia with Love. The whole crux of this movie is based around this like compelling love story that compels Bond to change his ways or to take a different attitude to things and essentially leave MI6. But I think that the love story is poorly told in this, and if the love story is poorly told, then the whole movie falls apart in my eyes.
Yeah, and I like the one with From Russia with Love better because I think that is less about Bond falling for Tatiana. It's more Tatiana falling for Bond, and I buy that more than Madeleine falling for James in this one.
So do you think having the No Time to Die hurts or helps the film? I know you can't say until we see No Time to Die.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you think that just that alone, that like you need this other film, does that hurt or help this?
I think if they find a way that it hurts it, they've botched it way harder than they shouldn't have, Like, there really should be only benefits to it. And if some of the things that I'm speculating about are true with the movie, I don't know anything about the movie. So for anybody who's like wondering if I'm spoiling things, I'm not spoiling anything. I don't know. I purposely don't know anything about this movie except for I think Ana de Armas's character is named like Paola or something, and the villain is Safin, if I'm remembering correctly, Safin.
Yeah,
and I got this feeling that like not only that Bond's going to die, but I think that they're going for a time jump. I think he's going to have a kid with her. I think that they're going to have this like Bond's a dad now kind of a vibe, and maybe that's going to change things up and stuff, and maybe they'll have worked together so now they have more of a chemistry as a couple or something. And but I mean, they wrote the movie thinking that this was like, all right, that's it, Daniel Craig's not contracted to do anymore and we'll move on. And it's like, well, you shouldn't need to have another movie to balance that out, just like how Quantum of Solace shouldn't exist. It should just be 2 extra scenes added to Casino Royale, kind of.
Yeah, it is one of those things that, like, I think No Time to Die, obviously it can botch it heavily, but it's one of the things that if it's done well, it can completely, I don't say completely redeem this movie, but it can really, like, improve people's opinions of this movie long term, if it's done well.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie itself should be able to stand alone on its own merits. And even though I don't think it's terrible when it's I still enjoyed the movie for the most part, I still feel like it falls down in very key areas. And the biggest area it falls down, well, there's 2 big areas it falls down, but the biggest one for me is, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well.
Villain.
But, yeah,
the 2 biggest parts of the films.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that's like it has foundations of like a good Bond movie, and has good scenes, and it has some good dialogue and stuff like that, but it falls down in that I don't buy the amazing romance they're trying to tell between these 2, and we'll talk about the villain in a little while as well, but that's just my overarching opinions. I kind of like I've used the jumping off point of now we've been introduced to Madeleine to basically get my entire fault off my chest in this entire movie. But I felt like it was necessary at that point, because now I can just basically concentrate on a scene by scene approach until the end.
And we will come back to some of these points too. So she's drunk. Bond gets drunk as well. And I really like this little bit where he sees this rat and he just points his gun at it. And we've long established that Bond does things to make himself laugh as well. Like, he says jokes that only he can hear. Like when in The World's Not Enough, where he takes the guy off and he's like, "Oh, see you at the lodge." It's like only you can hear that, Bond, and you laugh, and then you're mad because the guy isn't dead yet. But Bond points the gun at the rat and just goes, "Who sent you? Who are you working for?" I like that bit so much.
I like the fact that the mouse just looks at him while he's doing it as well. Just like he's actually thinking, "Fuck," and just starts scurrying away afterwards.
Oh, I've been made. He saw me putting my finger to my ear.
No, I didn't take the cheese.
There goes that Disney crossover.
Oh
my god, that mouse went on for this movie and became Ratatouille. That's the story.
It's all connected. I
They are
love
in
stuff
Italy.
like that because it is fun when Bond just not breaks character, but like eases the tension and all the seriousness that's going on by making himself laugh. Because if you're doing this for a living, if you are James Bond, you gotta do that, otherwise you'll lose your mind. You know?
Did you say they're in Italy?
At one point in the film, they are.
Oh yeah, and then one point in the film, I was just saying, like, where
not
the
right now. Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. It's in that continent that we've been talking about for way too long in this movie.
No, not in that particular scene, but earlier in the film, they are in Italy. So this rat's been just following him along. It's a whole Pixar film, Like the rat popped into the car.
This time, I would be wondering who he's working for and what he knows.
Yeah, he caught a ride with Q, so that's going to be how we establish how Q got to Austria.
And that's why Q has those cats as well, so he can deal with mice like this. Like
There you go. See, it's all formulating here.
Yeah, this mouse is the crux point of this entire franchise. His mouse has been following Bond this entire time, and he finally got caught, and he just scurried away afterwards.
The mouse is Blofeld. Got it.
You know what this turns out to be? The last rat standing. It's all been building up to that this whole time. So he sees that the rat enters this hole in the wall. Bingo, you got a false wall with a hidden area with all these videotapes, and there's guns and grenades and documents and shit. Pictures of Madeleine when she was young in a very do it for her, Maggie Simpson at the power plant kind of moment sort of thing, And this gives Madeleine the knowledge that her dad really did love her in his own way. And here's where I go back to one of the things we were just talking about with Madeleine. I don't like Madeleine. I don't think she was cast as well as she was. I don't think she was written as well as she was. But I'll be damned if I don't have to admit, this is the fourth time that I had seen Spectre. Obviously, the movie hasn't been out as long as some of the other ones, so that's one of the reasons why I've seen Tomorrow Never Dies 30 times or something. But Spectre is not one of my favorite ones, and I haven't watched it as much, and it's only been out for a couple of years, so I don't watch it every couple of months or so. This time around, I honestly liked Madeleine the best I've ever liked Madeleine. So she upgraded from pretty damn low on my list to higher than I really anticipated that she was going to get on my list eventually. And this scene was the one in particular that made me go, you know what, there is more depth to this character, and I'm not giving her as much credit. So I'll give credit to the scene for pulling this out, and then later on we're going to touch on some other things too. But Bond also sees a tape that's labeled Vesper Lind interrogation. He just puts it down. That's nothing.
So I assume that was that was from the scenic scenario where
she barters for his life.
Yeah, when she's been taken away by the other people, and that's when the ball torture happens.
In a lesser rewrite of this, Madeleine's like, "What's that tape?" And he goes, "A tape about some bitch who's dead." And they just call back that. Some dead bitch. Just kind of chucks inside.
Jesus, Tony.
That's what he says in the other movie. The bitch is dead, That's why it's much better for him to just be like, it's nothing, It shows in a way that he's still hurt by it, but he's actually still moved on as well. Could be done better, could be done worse. And we find out that Mr. White has been trying to track down Oberhauser. Funny enough.
Yeah, he has a connection with like coordinates and stuff like that, and he's using Bond to finish the job that he couldn't.
That
Blunt
gives
instrument that Bond is.
Whenever they say the blunt instrument thing, do you guys imagine anything in particular?
I
always think about a police baton.
I mean, I think of like a machete, but a machete is like dulled. Yeah, so like you've used it in the jungle for like several weeks and stuff like that. So it's pretty much like you're pretty much just whacking a tree and hoping for the best at that point.
Some kind of pipe, like just a really, I found this lying on the floor. I'm gonna use it to bludgeon you. The
inanimate carbon rod.
Yeah, there you go.
If you get the reference, 10 points. So, wouldn't you know, there's an attack on South Africa, and now they're on board with the Nine Eyes program. So C is going to shut down the 00 program, and all this stuff is working and going according to plan. Not suspicious at all, of course.
No, what a surprise that the thing says no, and there's a giant terrorist attack in Cape Town soon afterwards.
Yeah, it's almost like, if anybody thinks that that's going on, you'd go, oh, okay, so terrorists are doing that, and they want us to do this, so let's not do it. Instead, they're like, sorry, we need all the intelligence. Yeah. Very intelligent, right? You do need the intelligence. Get some train stuff. Anybody likes trains. I'm not a big train guy, but trains and this franchise work out well. I like trains in
this franchise, yeah.
Yeah.
They're very good here.
Bond wants to show Madeleine how to use a gun, and we get the stereotypical anti-trope kind of moment that has become its own trope in a way, where it's like, oh, I hate guns, but I know exactly how to use it, and that kind of thing. The only part about this that I really like is when she says, what if I shoot you by mistake? And he says, oh, it'll be the first time. But it's just, that's the type of thing they do in movies all these times now, where they even did it back in GoldenEye. He hands the gun to Natalia, and he's like, you know how to use one of these? And she's just like, yeah, I know. So that movie came out in 1995. It's not like,
20 years before this one.
Right, like, she's a girl, and she knows how to use a gun. Yeah, 20 years ago, one of them did too. It's, let's move on, kind of a thing. Like,
well, I can kind of like defend that to a degree in the sense that we're not given any interpretation from the movie beforehand that she can use a firearm. Like, as far as we're told, it's like she's just a doctor. So I can get that sort of sense across there.
Yeah, that's true.
But I feel like this is they in basically this single scene is meant to be the thing that is like the thawing of the bitterness that formed between these two at the start of it. It's just the fact that she knows how to use a gun but chooses not to, and that's supposed to be like, oh, that's the big moment. Because then, like, there's it goes from there, and it just goes to the Moneypenny and Q showing M where Bond is heading, but M saying that because C is watching everything, they need to essentially wipe all of the files of Bond, and basically Bond's on his own for the rest of this. So then we went to that, and then immediately we're into Bond and Swann having this flirty dinner date where she's wearing this really fancy dress, and like he's talking her up and stuff like that, and saying that like you shouldn't stare, well you shouldn't look like that. Yeah. It's just like, and at that point you're just going like, whoa, we've gone from really bitterness towards each other and like some real animosity to her being drunk and slightly vulnerable, but not obviously in no way constantly resisting his charms. Then finding out about what White's plan was, then having a conversation about her using a gun and stuff like that. Then, these two like just are so crazy about each other. They have this fancy dinner date with each other. It's way too quick, these transitions.
So before we move on to that, we're going to backtrack to something that they might go back to in the next film. People are at least theorizing about this. I don't necessarily buy into this theory, but it's a possibility. When Madeleine's, tinkering around with the gun and everything, she gives a speech about a man once came to their house to kill her father when she was home, and she knew that he had kept a Beretta, and implies that she shot and killed the would-be assassin. She says, that's why I hate guns. A lot of people are speculating Safin in the new film is that guy, and that she didn't kill him. So that's why it's the whole, your past is coming back and that kind of thing. I think that that's not going to play out. I think this is just she shot a guy kind of a thing,
Yeah, it gives her it's more just giving her a light backstory about why she doesn't want to use guns and stuff like that. And essentially it kind of forms her quote unquote character arc or her relationship with James throughout this entire thing, because essentially her entire thing is being a doctor and a psychologist to a degree. Just basically talking about why does James do this, and is it right that he does this, and does he feel like he has a choice in the matter? And just feels like her entire story device her entire story with Bond is trying to get him to think about why he does what he does, and should he be doing it.
Yeah,
again, it's something that would be really interesting if they told if the relationship was built up better than it was.
She, pretty much flat out says, do you really want what this is for your life? And he tries to dodge it and basically says he's never really stopped to think about it. And if he did, well, I don't know. Which is, again, in a better movie, that's ooh, okay, we'll get really deep into this kind of thing. And instead it ends up being just more so, whatever. We get a cool moment where Hanks pops up out of nowhere and kicks the table.
As Bautista would do.
Boots the damn thing.
Yeah, just like we see him in the background when they're drinking the martinis, and then he just immediately just starts fucking up the place. And I'll give him credit. I know I've criticised the fact that I just feel like his character's pretty inconsequential and we don't know what his motivations are to a degree. But this is a pretty damn good fight scene.
Yep. That's why he's one of my top people.
What, Hanks?
Well, not top, but he's a good henchman, I think, because this fight scene is fantastic.
He's one of those. He's one of the classic monster Bond henchmen, which is impervious to damage. Bond just has to. For every one strike that Hinks delivers that hurts Bond has to hit him 15 times to do the same amount.
But I joked about it before with he was groomed for this in Evolution. But in all seriousness, his wrestling training, it's been spoken about many times, was simply, all right, you're older, you're big, we're just going to make you the monster heel who never says anything. It comes full circle, because that's exactly what he is in this movie. He's the monster heel who never talks.
Yeah, pretty much. He just brawls. They have a good fist fight. And he takes a bullet to the arm. It doesn't really phase him much at all. But we do get... he gets hooked to these kegs, and when they go flying, so does Hanks. Says his only line in the film, which is just, shit.
It's fantastic.
Did he say it with an accent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it?
Because you would never know.
It just feels weird that he doesn't say anything throughout the entire movie. And is he actually ever referred to as Mr. Hinks in this entire movie?
No.
I don't feel like he is, because I constantly wrote Bautista in my notes because even though I could look up and find out what his name is, I don't do that until after the movie. I've watched the movie because I feel like it's a better reflection of what I should know out of the movie coming out of this. It's I wouldn't know who Mr. Hinks is unless I looked up on Wikipedia that his name was Mr. Hinks.
I don't remember if they do or not. If they do, it's very...
watch the credits and stuff like that.
Yeah, if they do mention it, it's very quick and passive. Probably just be Mr. Hinks here, whatever, that kind of thing or something. They don't make a big deal about it, that's for sure. Not Mr. Wint, Mr. Kid, referring to each other like that all the time, And again, he doesn't get sucked out of the train and goes, woo! So it's a different kind of film.
No, but I like the fact that it is a good brawl. I like the fact that Madeleine is the one that kind of rescues Bond to a degree, or at least distracts him long enough so Bond can wrap the rope around his neck, hook it to the kegs all go flying, and he goes out afterwards as well. But it's kind of left a little bit, again, when we talk about all the things that are linking this to No Time to Die, it is kind of left up in the air about what happens to Finks. I assume he's dead.
Yeah, technically speaking, they could have the character come back, but as far as I know, he's not. So
especially if he's like a Jaws type, yeah. Well, especially if he's like a Jaws type character and stuff like that. But we didn't technically see him any interpretation of him coming back, so I assume he's dead. But the fact that he like essentially just pulled off screen leaves a little window of doubt.
I guess they probably did that because they wanted to leave the option there in case he was popular enough that they wanted to bring him back.
Mm.
Kind of like how they showed that shot of Jaws swimming away, just to be like, oh, okay, see, like, he's not dead, that kind of thing.
He probably, like, he does this and then does Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's probably too expensive for them there.
Maybe, yeah, because he definitely bumped up his career quite a bit after these. So, yeah, for all intents and purposes, he's dead.
Yeah.
And
he had a good run.
They have their thank God we're alive sex, and my label for this section: "Come on, ride the train." Great 90s song.
It's one of the things that I wrote my notes verbatim. Is like Swann asks like, "What do they do now?" and they look at each other. And then it's a good job that Q gave on that watch, because fight time is always followed by penis o'clock. And so it's just like, okay, fight's over, fight, then we fuck. That's the Bond. That's the Bond legacy. We fight and then we fuck.
Eventually, the hour hand turns into the minute hand.
Again, I totally feel this does definitely fall into Rob's categorization of the "thank God we're alive" sex. But again, it just feels like, again, if she's just a one-off Bond girl, then it's fine. But if she's supposed to be like the love of his life type thing, it just feels so fucking rushed.
I'm sure Bond can last long.
The whole train ride, just like, but no, it just feels like that. What if they were to get together? It should feel more. I don't know how to describe it. More emotional or more meaningful, or should it like have more build up to it? Whereas this is just essentially, oh my god, I can't believe we started that sort of thing. Fuck that type of that, and yeah, that just it doesn't work for me for what Madeleine is supposed to represent by the end of this movie.
Yeah, it's not good, and it's rushed, and I'm not a big fan of it. Anyway, they end up switching over to in the middle of the desert. They get picked up by a 1948 Rolls Royce, and they're brought to this facility, bad guy lair, of course, where Bond's forced to give up his gun.
It's very akin to Dr. No, really.
Dr. No, little You Only Live Twice, little, just like, call back to the previous films kind of thing. There is something really creepy about this place, though. It's not inherently dark or sinister. Like, there's not like an abandoned mine shaft, or not in the middle of the woods with like a bunch of spooky creatures around or something. But it's got this vibe that, I don't know. There's something to it. I think that they did a good job picking something that felt cold and almost alien in how sanitized it is. It's the type of place that you would expect dangerous research to be done. Like away from a civilization, like a bioweapons facility or something like that. I like it.
Yeah, like I just say, it's very sanitized and very, I guess, lacking in real color, or how do you describe it? It's like it doesn't have imperfections, which is weird, which is scary.
Like it reminds me a little
unnatural.
Bit. Yeah, that's the thing. It reminds me a little bit of like something that an alien would make that would be like, well, it's got a hotel and humans have hotels. This will be comforting to them. Where you're just like, no, something's off, But those hotel rooms are personalized with like photos we saw earlier. So it's like Madeleine with her father and all that. Like, that's, I don't know. That's the kind of thing where it kind of gets to me where it's like alien-esque. Oh, there's also this observatory with this big old chunk of meteorite. So that's another thing. And we get this symbolic monologue, Oberhauser's there. It's poetic. This huge unstoppable force waited in the atmosphere to make its move. And eventually it did. And Bond says, well, it stopped right here. Bond's way of just being like, and that's the end of this. I'm going to stop you and that kind of thing. Turns out, Oberhauser is indeed Bond's adopted foster brother from the past. And he's been behind everything in the previous films just to get at Bond. And yeah. I fucking hate it.
So, can we make it canon that after this series inspired Austin Powers, that they just took Austin Powers and did it here?
Because they fucking do the Dr. Evil and Austin Powers are brothers thing. It's like, how the hell did you guys do the thing that the parody did?
Yeah, it's just it's really, really unnecessary. To the point where you can have this guy be like the head of this whole organization and be like the scary head of Spectre. He doesn't need any connection with Bond other than the fact that he's seen Bond essentially whittle through some of his top agents, and so now he's dealing with him personally. It's all you have to do. You don't need to build up this rhetoric about them knowing each other since childhood, and this whole idea that, oh, my daddy loved you more than me, and so I killed daddy, and now daddy's not here anymore, and now I'll kill you as well. That sort of... Essentially, this guy formed this giant fucking criminal organization.
Because he's got daddy issues.
Yeah, because he's upset that daddy loved another boy more than him.
And he did it before Bond was a 00.
He did it before Bond was a 00. My biggest question about this entire thing, and again, it's like, oh right, and I know you can't tell this whole story in 2.5 hours, but how the fuck did he form Spectre?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did he go from being a guy who essentially faked his own death in an avalanche accident, and just so he can kill his own father and just escape into the wilderness? How does he go from there and then just form this giant criminal organization? Why is he in control? Why is he super powerful? Because he seems like he's a little bit kooky, he's a little bit crazy, he's a little bit, he seems like feeble to a degree. Like, he seems like obviously he's a criminal mastermind and stuff like that. He seems like he's very intelligent, but he doesn't strike me as someone who's particularly intimidating. And why is this guy at the top of the thing? Why is he ahead of Lucia? Why is he ahead of Silver? Why is he in charge of these people? That's what I don't want to criticize him again, because like Christoph Waltz is a fantastic actor.
Fantastic, yeah.
He's incredible in so many things I've seen before. They play him too comedic in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they play him too... I always say, again, it seems like comedic because it is somebody who's got this long-term connection to Bond, but it feels like they play it as him is a bit too like ha, a little bit too, oh, it's gonna make you feel my pain, I'm gonna essentially whittle you down into your like your senses are numb type thing before I kill you. Just like, okay, this is like really old school Bond villain, but taking some of the worst traits of the old school Bond villains, which is I'll tell you all my plans and I'll go through every single detail before I don't kill you.
He's hamming it up, and it's... Yeah. I hate so much when things do things like this. I like when, like, things can tie into each other, and when you can do some callbacks, and you can do, like, oh, okay, that's a reference to this kind of thing. But there is no justification for... Bond's adopted brother is the mastermind behind all the evil in the world, and at the same time Bond is the one good guy who's always like, no, he doesn't need to fucking know Blofeld. And they could have gotten away with doing a very similar story that worked better. C should be Blofeld. And Oberhauser should be, if you want to tell the story of Bond's adopted brother is part of Spectre and has a vengeance against him, make him just a guy that Blofeld found out about and is extorting in his own way, because that is a connection to this guy, James Bond, who's been fucking up all of his plans. So he's like, I'm going to look into this James Bond guy. Turns out he has an adopted brother who faked his own death. We're going to bring him into Spectre and make him feel like he's a part of this organization, but we're really just using him to get the Bond. And if C was Spectre, if C was Blofeld, then you go, aha, the guy who's got all the control over the intelligence and everything, and by the end of the movie, if you don't kill him off, he's the mastermind behind it all. That's why we're doing this whole subplot, and he escapes, and we know the guy that has literally been the head of MI5 is Blofeld, and that's why he's gotten all these connections, and that's why he was able to do all these things, because he was doing it with the government's control just under their nose. Damn it, wouldn't that have been better? Not to say that Andrew Scott should have been a better Blofeld, but like, you know, switch the two characters up or something. Like, that's...
Yeah, I mean, I like that interpretation of it, don't get me wrong. But I just feel like you just don't even need to take those steps.
You don't even need to do the Oberhauser thing at all. Yeah.
Yeah, Blofeld should just be Blofeld.
Yeah.
Blofeld to just be the head of this scary, intimidating, insane, somewhat insane, but mostly just really intelligent head of this giant organization that has linked all these people together, who has seen Bond go through Le Chiffre and gone through Dominic Green and Raoul Silver, and so realizes, like, okay, I'm going to have to deal with this guy, either myself or understand him a little bit more. And I just feel like by creating this giant link between these two about the fact that they knew each other as kids or like teenagers, pretty much, it just feels like so he's created this entire organization and built this entire huge network, and like, it's all just to get at this guy who he didn't know who he could have no idea at that point was going to become a 00 agent.
Yeah, not at all.
Involved in. Yeah, you can't know at that point, and it's just like this massive coincidence that at the same time as him forming this giant organization, his long lost adoptive brother is like the one who's foiling all his agents' work and stuff like that. It's so massive of a leap of faith that it really, like, yeah, it really just damages this entire story.
It's like when people try to make the Joker Bruce Wayne's unknown prior to the moment brother that the Waynes had given up for adoption.
Isn't that the whole story of the Court of Owls?
That like there's always been like this people behind there, and you're tied into this and whatever.
It's James, and it's Bruce's brother.
Yeah, like that stuff. I'm like, Court of Owls to me works so much better if it's just like, yeah, they're just people that just manipulate stuff. There's no brother element. There's no, you've got a sister this whole time that's whatever. Turns out that I'm your dad. Turns out, like, no, just Blofeld should be Blofeld. He's been the head of Quantum and the head of this and the head of that. I don't even think that Silva should be a part of it at all. I think he should have just been a guy, just a rogue agent that happened to maybe cross paths with Spectre just because they have their tentacles in every single thing, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But I just vehemently, absolutely hate Oberhauser's his brother, and it turns out he's Blofeld. Oh my god, wouldn't that be fucking great? No, it's not. It's dumb.
It is just the entire, like, and a lot of movies have fallen into this trap, this giant, the Luke and Darth Vader story, because it's just a case of like, just because it worked in that movie doesn't mean that you should apply the technique and loads of other things. It's going to make things feel more poignant or special. Just going to make this feel like, well, why did all this stuff happen? Why did he have to create this giant organization just to get at him? Why has he been, like you said, like he's the reason why Vesper died and all this other stuff, and all the other women that have been involved in this thing have gone away. And considering the fact that, like, as far as we know, two of the other women that we've seen this, well, at least one of the other women that we've seen in this movie isn't dead. Like Camille is totally fine.
Oh, that's because they only kissed.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
if you would have fucked her, she'd be dead. You know.
Yeah.
Now Australia. Yeah.
Well, as far as we know, that what's it? Lucia. Can't remember.
Sciarra.
Lucietta. Well, yeah, Sciarra. Yeah, she's still alive and she got protected.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, he means the ones that like he actually cared about.
Oh yeah,
and Vesper and.
Yeah, but he did. How did he like? He didn't arrange for their deaths and stuff like that.
And that's the type of weird machinations type crap where you go like, oh come on, he's not that smart enough to be able to go, well, I think that at this point Vesper's gonna walk up the steps and the thing's Bond's gonna shoot the thing and the flood's gonna no, just don't retcon that shit. Just make it to where it's like Blofeld is like, I'm tired of this guy getting in the fucking way. Let's finish this shit. The way he does in the second Bond film. And from Russia with Love, he's just like, hey, Klebb and Kronstein and Morzeny, can you guys fucking kill that dude? And like, they're like, yeah, we got this Red Grant guy. And he's like, good. Have him kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, as I say, it's just going to boil down to the fact that we don't need him to be emotionally connected to Bond beyond the fact that he's just been fucking up his operations.
So this entire reboot of this franchise has been, we want to tell a through line story, and we want to, shake up Bond, and we want to do all that. And as Callum said earlier, not everything needs to be, I am your father, because that's basically what they're going for here. Oh, can you believe it? Bond and Blofeld are actually brothers, which might actually mean something if, they didn't drop Blofeld from a helicopter 30 years ago.
Come on!
It's very weird. I don't know. I'm going to say thumbs down on the reveal.
I was so annoyed because I was like, maybe there's a way that they're going to do this. Because, I mean, the movie's called Spectre, and you've got a guy like Christoph Waltz. Everybody going in this movie is like, all right, well, he's Blofeld. They're like, no, he's Franz Oberhauser. And you're like, yeah, so he's Blofeld. And to spoil a movie that I'm sure people aren't going to be all upset about, especially because you can find this information out online, it's very easy. Star Trek 2, or Star Trek, whatever the fuck it is, I don't know. Star Trek 2 from like the newer movies, the ones that I actually enjoy. Into Darkness. They're going into the movie, and everybody sees Benedict Cumberbatch is playing a big part, and everybody's like, yeah, he's probably playing Khan. And they're like, no, he's not playing Khan, he's playing John Harrison. And we go, yeah, he's playing Khan. You might as well just say he's Con Harrison at that point. And they're like adamantly going, no, he's John Harrison. I don't know why you guys are saying this shit about this Khan thing. And then you get to the part of the movie where he goes, my name's not John Harrison, it's Khan. And everybody goes, yeah, we fucking knew. Don't want to spoil Dark Knight Rises, but Marion Cotillard, you know what I mean? It's the whole like, I'm actually... And then it's like, yeah, we know. People aren't as dumb as they used to be when it comes to these things, because people who follow the franchises know the characters. You can't do a movie called Spectre and not have Blofeld in it. And you're not going to do Blofeld in a movie and not have it be one of those two main villains. You're not just going to, in the middle of nowhere, oh my god, it turns out that henchman number 5 is actually going to be Blofeld going forward in this franchise. It's going to be Christoph Waltz. And then that's why I go, man, Christoph Waltz, he should have just been C. And then C should have been Blofeld. And Oberhauser could have been played by Scott. And he could have been the younger brother or something. And then he could have been, if you want to do the whole thing with that I mentioned before about like, he got into the mix as being like, let's get somebody who knows James Bond, and we can kind of, be a puppet master for this kind of guy and make him think that he's a part of this whole thing to take him down. But you know what? Actually, we're just going to shoot him or something. And you can even have fun with that too. You could even do a thing where Blofeld turns on Oberhauser and he goes, yeah, we don't need you anymore, dude. You were not a part of this organization. We just needed you to bring us James Bond. And you know what? You're going to die together. And they both get into whatever machine that they're in. And Oberhauser can do the babyface turn and be like, I guess I'll save my adopted brother. And then you could do that if you wanted to, which is still completely unnecessary, but it would at least avoid the dumb Dr. Evil and Austin Powers are brothers thing. I hate it with a passion. That is the one thing above anything in the Daniel Craig series so far. The lame gadgets, the let's not have him do the phrases, let's not have the gun barrel thing, let's do the whole now he's James Bond thing, let's like make him super young and then make him old immediately. All that stuff I don't like, but the Blofeld thing is the one where I'm like, no, fuck you. Kind of.
Yeah. They did not need to do this swerve, and I just feel like I kind of like these movies a little bit more when they were all one-off, because trying to tell that through story has sort of screwed it up.
They overcomplicated it and didn't pull it off. Instead, it ends up being like, yeah, you flew too close to the sun. Like, if you Icarus.
Yeah, I've appreciated the free story they told too far. They took a leap too far, just trying to over-connect everything in Bond's life to like everything is connected. Everything has to have some deeper meaning beyond the fact that this is just a guy who's head of this organization. Like the connection is the fact that like this guy's just head of the organization that a lot of Bond's villains have come from. That's all the through line you really need. This guy's just the big bad. Like all the people that Bond has taken out is just essentially pawns. And like he's helped the world and he's helped save people and stuff like that. But until he takes down Blofeld, then they're still going to be so massive threats to global security. That's all you need to tell. They just went too far with it because they felt that was more meaningful or added more depth to the story. And at the end of the day, it just makes things too far-fetched to really take seriously.
And there's even something to be said about it could be more interesting to tell the story of when Bond and Blofeld finally come face to face, and you just completely eradicate the whole Oberhauser thing because you just do not need it in this whatsoever. Every element of this can be replaced with not having Oberhauser. You can have Bond see Blofeld and say, look for somebody who looks like this, and that character is whatever, or I saw this guy at the funeral for Sciarra, blah blah blah. But there's a way to tell this too, where Bond and Blofeld meet, and Bond is like, hey, I finally get to meet the guy that's the head of the organization, and Blofeld is like, yeah, not only am I the guy who's behind all this stuff, it's also literally not been personal. I don't care about you. You just happen to keep getting in my fucking way. So, in your mind, I'm the big bad who has, like, you have a vendetta against me for killing Vesper and for killing M and for killing this person and for running into this. And he's like, it's that whole, wow, I can't believe I'm making this connection. But my brain did it. Have you guys seen Street Fighter?
Yes.
There's that part where M. Bison says to Chun-Li, the day that I came into your village and like slaughtered your people and killed your parents or whatever it was the most important day of your life. To me, it was Tuesday. Where it's like, Blofeld could just be like, yeah, to you, I'm the big bad. I'm the guy who's been behind all these tragedies in your life. And I'm the guy that you've been wanting to go after for all these years. And to me, I'm like, that was one of the 50 things I did that day. It doesn't fucking matter. You're just a guy. And now I'm going to kill you. You know, like, and then you won't be in my way anymore. And then I can get to doing the shit that I want to do. And that's so much better.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oberhauser starts playing footage of Mr. White killing himself, and Bond's all like, no, turn this off. And Madeleine looks at Bond instead rather than the footage. Of course, she could always just like see at another point, I'm sure. But they just send her an email real quick, and they're like, hey, check out this funny video of, this monkey. And then it's like, bang, and she goes like, damn it, I saw it. And it's like, gotcha. You know?
And she can watch the replay or something.
Yeah, she's got DVR. Bond's hooked up to a chair after he's knocked out. He sees a lizard and a white cat, because we got to have the white cat. Because he's Blofeld. Although at this point, they haven't said he's Blofeld, to be fair. This is the point where they're going with the whole Oberhauser is the head of the whole thing, but we're not going to say he's Blofeld yet. So he gives a speech. Man lives inside his head, so he's going to drill inside of Bond's head, play with his sight and hearing and balance, and he drills in and, whatever. But after Madeleine asks why he's doing this, he explains all that stuff about, my father took him in. It's all just boiling down to jealousy. He doted more upon James. He considers James to be a cuckoo bird who infiltrated his family, so he killed his dad. And he also says his new name after faking his death is Ernst Stavro Blofeld, taken after his mother's bloodline, which explains the cat. And that's, again, the type of moment where they go, remember the thing from before? And everybody goes, yeah, we knew it before the movie started, and we also knew it when he started talking about how he was the head of Spectre and all that. You waited 3 scenes past, at the very least, when you needed to do this, to just go, he's Blofeld, to kind of do the thing that Ryan George does for his Screen Rant pitches. He's the guy from the movie, like that kind of thing. Love that dude's stuff. The pitch meetings are so great. Check him out. He also says then, now he's drilled into Bond. He said he's going to fuck up with his all of his sights, all of his senses, sight, hearing, balance. He already did that. And then he says he's going to drill into a part where Bond's not going to be able to remember anybody's faces anymore. He also says, shame, the daughter of an assassin is the only one who could understand and potentially be good for Bond and whatever. So Blofeld, because we're just going to call him that going forward, actually drills into Bond. And I'm worried when I'm watching this for the first time, thinking, they've already made Blofeld Bond's fucking brother. What are they going to really do a whole thing where Bond forgets everybody's faces, and that's why he's going from girl to girl, or whenever kind of stupid shit like that, or they recast M, or any of this kind of crap. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
There is nothing at all that happens from this point on in the film that factors at all into any of the drilling. He is able to shoot people like there's no problem whatsoever. He's not stumbling around. He immediately recognizes Madeleine, who says, I love you. It's pretty fast. I would recognize you anywhere. That kind of thing. It's completely pointless.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like this highly intense torture scene, similar to what you saw in Casino Royale. Like this whole, Bond's trapped, and what's he going to do in this situation? And it's just, you're supposed to, I guess, get the interpretation that, okay, so he immediately gets the issue of the balance, and so he'll have a bit of trouble escaping, but it's something that can be kind of overcome. But this one where he's going to fail to recognize people's faces, at that point, Bond's taken off his watch. And the only thing that I can kind of surmise is the fact that he's grasping his watch while it happens. And maybe there's something to do with the watch is preventing the drill going all the way in or something like that. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's totally ineffective, which makes Blofeld look inept.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes Bond look superhuman.
Yeah.
And either of those things are not what you should be feeling at the end of it. Because it's just like, once that drill goes in, it should be, okay, he doesn't know who Madeleine is. And maybe you could do some sort of convoluted story where it kind of like, he regains that memory over the course of the remainder of the movie. Maybe that's what makes him. I mean, that's the thing that shows the strength of their relationship, or the fact that there is some real connection between them, because he does regain his consciousness through her. But it's just like a case of like, oh, he drills in, Madeleine goes up to him, says, "I love you," and then he immediately like, must have had like some sort of gnat on my neck or something like that.
He's just like, by the way, I'm totally fine. Like,
yeah,
and
I'm
my
going to
watch
give you
is
this
a
one.
bomb.
And he says like 60 seconds, and then 20 seconds later she's throwing the thing and it blows up, because they just couldn't stretch that out for a minute, because essentially what Blofeld was going to do after that was, okay, now I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, it could have been
Bond just
30 seconds, and
what Bond says is just like, he says a Latin phrase twice, and at the same time Blofeld just basically says, "Oh, I just don't understand what you're saying, James. You've got to make more sense." And he says, "Doesn't time fly?" Which is shit.
Tempus fugit. Yeah.
And then he just throws his watch, and then she throws the watch, and it all blows up. And apparently, like, this is the thing that caused like his massive scarring and stuff like that. We'll see later in the movie and stuff like that. But then Bond gets out. He's pretty fine. Like, he's limping for a little while, but then he grabs the gun and he's like, he's killing people from miles away.
Yeah.
Like there's literally someone who's on the top of a hill, probably a good 100, 200 feet away from Bond, and he just like snipes him out of the air and stuff like that. And even though he's limping, no one can take a single shot at him. Even though he's like protecting this unarmed woman and stuff like that, no one can get a shot on her either. It's just classic stormtrooperitis, with affecting everyone other than Bond, who is totally like, he's got laser vision. He's not even feeling the effects of the shoulder from the previous movie and stuff like that.
He had more of a hard time shooting a target that was stationary and closer to him when he had the bullet wound from Skyfall than he does here, where he's supposed to have been losing his fucking memory and all these other... It's so fucking easy. That's the thing that's so annoying about this. All you need to do is he drills into Bond, he fucks with his senses, and he says, the next one I'm going to drill is going to fuck with your brain. And before that happens, they do the thing with, hey, 30 seconds, because that would make more sense with the time, or 10 seconds. Throws the watch, boom, and then Bond stumbles around and has trouble shooting people, because then that puts more danger into the mix. And then you don't have to do the whole, well, how does it not affect him? It's like, because he didn't drill him. He only did the thing that was messing up his equilibrium and everything for a little while. But after Bond is able to escape, you assume that after time went by, that Bond's regained his equilibrium and his senses and all have restored, because it's been a day or whatever the fuck, I don't know. It's so easy. That annoys me so much in movies, where it's just like, or when we're rebooking things for WWE or something, where I'm just like, my God, guys, it's right there. You don't have to do the convoluted Oberhauser thing I was talking about earlier. You just don't have him. Don't do something that means nothing. But because it happens, inevitably, there's a whole theory about this. Everybody does these things with stories. They were in a coma the whole time. It was all a dream, that kind of thing. So there's people that argue Bond escapes so easily, and that the rest of the film is so flawed because he's imagining it, and he never got out of the chair. It's just bad writing.
Yep. It's another bad check mark on this movie.
A good check mark, though. When they blow up the facility, they got a Guinness World Record for it. Largest movie stunt explosion of all time.
They still hold it?
As far as I know, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, good. Yeah, again, it just feels like they were just trying to tick a box more than anything else.
Yeah,
like
because it doesn't come off that impressive.
We've had the oldest Bond girl in the franchise and this type thing, and now we've got this giant explosion happening as well. It just feels like it's unnecessary, and also it just goes like, how the fuck did Blofeld get out of that?
Yeah. The blast lasts over 7.5 seconds. It took 73 pounds of powder explosives, 2,224 gallons of kerosene. Apparently, it's the equivalent of 75 tons of TNT that they blew up. Which, I'm not even the type of person who knows how much is in a firecracker, you know? Crazy. Just like, boom, boom, it's big, you know? In a lot of movies, that would be the end, but it's not. So we're back in London. M and Tanner and Q and Moneypenny, all our regular heroes, minus Felix, who's not in the film, go to the safe house, which is a neat little reference because it says it's Hildebrand, and it deals with rarities. So somebody like me is like, Hildebrand rarity! Ah! You know, that kind of thing. Like, it's the thing! Ian Fleming! Hildebrand! Bond's plan is that Q is going to hack into the system, and he's going to stop the Nine Eyes program from going online at midnight, and, you know, so on and so forth. Madeleine says, I can't do this. I don't want to go back to this life, and I don't want to ask you to change who you are, because this is who you are. But you are a good man. Goodbye. You are the weakest link. And, of course, she gets abducted.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Yeah, no. You got to be damsel in distress in some fashion. They get into a car accident, so Bond can get taken, but I really like how when he's covered up, he's got his head covered and he's tied up and whatever, he's still able to kill the two goons because he's Bond. That's cool.
Well, it's because obviously the needle affected his sight, so if he was blindfolded, that doesn't actually affect him anyway. So.
They give him superhuman stuff. That's why he was so good at shooting everything.
Blofeld went a little bit to the left. He's now more deadly with a blindfold on than he was beforehand.
And he remembers people even better. Blofeld's like, fuck, I went left. I should have went right. Yeah, that's why. Turns out that Bond's been taken to the old MI6 building. He sees a memoriam wall with his name written on it and an arrow pointing around, which I thought was funny on, I forget if it was like the Honest Trailers or something, where they were like, yeah, it's gotten lazy enough that they just literally point Bond to where to go next. Go here, then go there, then go there, go to the next plot point. Q and M meet up with Max. They say, M stands for moron. And he tries to shoot, but his gun's empty, and M says, now we know what C stands for. No, he says careless. It's fun.
It doesn't know what it stands for, though, is it?
Imagine him being that forthright with it, though. Now we know what C stands for, you dumb cunt.
Well, I would like it more. Again, it's more like it would be just way too comedic, even for this franchise. But it would just be a case of like, oh, we know what the C stands for, and he just starts saying the word cunt, but then it just cuts to Q going, "Come on, let's get this."
Yeah, like the Austin Powers. It looks like a giant dictator. They just start taking more from Austin Powers.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last film, we got M saying, I really fucked this up. Maybe this one, he's just kind of like, you bitch, or something like. And I hate this bit. Pictures up on the wall in the shooting range that are promotional shots from previous films of like Silva and Le Chiffre and all that. They thought it was cool. They probably watched one of the Saw movies. I don't like it.
I don't mind the journey back through Bond's past. I mean, it's hurt by the fact that like this has all been orchestrated by his long lost brother now, but it's just a case. I don't mind that like he wants to intimidate him with the ghosts of his past, especially because essentially once he actually gets to the end of this maze and he sees Blofeld behind this glass partition, Blofeld basically says that I'm gonna blow this place up and Madeleine will just become another ghost on this wall if you don't find her and stuff like that. So I'm okay with this little journey down memory lane.
Well, we do see that he's got the facial scar, from You Only Live Twice. The when Bond shoots the bulletproof glass, it makes a little octopus design too, which I find kind of neat. It gives him 3 minutes, the same 6 minutes that Bond gave Trevelyan. Bomb's going to blow up Madeleine. She's hidden somewhere in the building. Q's able to shut down the system. M scuffles with C. C ends up falling to his death. It's not as grandiose as On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is a shame. Turns out that M is in... Madeleine's in M's old office, the one that blew up in the previous film. They managed to fall down the whole building with this conveniently placed netting that cushions their fall and allows them to escape and be on a boat in the river, and that leads to the helicopter thing on the bridge. And of course, Blofeld survives the crash for that. And it's a lot of stuff that doesn't, like...
Okay, so I can justify the netting is the fact that a lot of tall buildings will have suicide nets. So that's to prevent, obviously, people just falling off the building, and there's some sort of layer of protection on there. So I can justify that being there.
Is that really? I don't think I've ever seen that.
That's not a thing in America, pal.
No, I imagine not.
America's like, go ahead and jump, asshole.
That's actually really cool, though.
I don't know if it's available in they're featured in every single tall building or anything like that. But there are things in especially significantly tall buildings where you put some sort of netting just above the top floor, and that's to prevent jumpers and stuff like that. So I can justify. I saw that and thought, oh, that's quite convenient to have a netting there, and then I just kind of made the connection in my mind because I'm aware those things exist. So it wasn't too much of a leap for me, but it was more of a leap for the idea of yeah, it was quite a leap for them, but it was more of a it was more bizarre for me just thinking about the fact that, oh yeah, I know that Bond went past something while he was going through the tunnels and stuff like that, but this explosion happens and they're just driving out in this convenient boat that was there. So who left that there?
Yeah. It's just I didn't know that was a thing, so I just assumed that it was like a construction deal. I guess it's just one of those things about being American. People are just kind of like, people fall. And you clean it up. Kind of like, yeah.
Fuck, geez, you painted a real grim picture of America there.
That's kind of true. People will probably be more upset about the sidewalk getting cracked or something, right? Nobody cares about anybody.
Yeah, again, I don't know how prominent those things are, but I have seen them pop up in buildings beforehand and stuff like that, So
after Bond takes down the helicopter and after Blofeld survives and they do this whole thing, Bond has Blofeld dead to rights on the bridge, and Blofeld says, finish it. And again, it's a very Joker and Batman type thing. This series has never been about Bond having a no-kill honor code like Batman. They've touched on the idea of him not outright killing people with the license not to kill and all that. But it's not like that's the story. It's just that they've seen this and that they wanted to do it. The same as they wanted to do the "No, I am your father." The same as they wanted to do, let's do Tracy. And instead of Draco, we've got Mr. White. And it's very much like, let's do a cover version of a bunch of other things and not do it as well. But massive but. And it's not Daniel Craig's ass that Vesper's checking out.
Nor is it Dave Mastiff's.
Yeah. I originally thought that this was dumb and bad writing, and somebody was just thinking we should do the Batman thing. But here's the argument for it. And I never, ever connected the dot for that really hit home for me until I watched it this past time. It's more about how Madeleine is watching and Bond makes the decision not to be an assassin than it is about whether or not Bond is going to kill somebody or kill his adopted brother or any of those kind of things on surface level. It's just not done well enough to get this across, but I guess it's more of the idea of even the guy who's done the worst things for him, he can show compassion toward by letting him be arrested rather than killed. Which I think works so much better if he doesn't know the guy.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but to me it was quite, like, even on the first time watching through, I felt there was kind of, I wouldn't say clear as day, but it was quite clear to me, the interpretation is the fact that this was the moment that had been prelude in the early discussions with Madeleine, is the fact that this is Bond making the choice that he never felt that he had, which is, he's always, like, he always said, like, I was basically picked and forced into this life of being an assassin. And this is the moment that he can just go, I can actually make this choice now. And because I care about Madeleine and she thinks that I'm a good man and she thinks that I can rise above this and not have to just be compelled to make these actions, this is the moment where I break it. Even though this is a guy who's done so many horrible things to other people and has been in control of this organization and stuff like that, and is basically just doing it with a personal vendetta towards me based on the story they told here. Just like, this is the moment where I can just say, no, I don't have to be that person anymore. I can be who I choose to be rather than what was chosen for me. So yeah, I think, again, if it's better told, whether it's just a case of, like, you don't need to have Blofeld being a somewhat relation to Bond, you don't need, and if you tell a better story of building that arc between him and Madeleine over time, then I think this could be a really powerful moment in the movie.
Yeah, it should be more powerful than it is.
Yeah, it could be the sort of thing where this is the moment in the movie where you kind of go, okay, that's a powerful way to either end the Daniel Craig era, or to move forward into No Time to Die and, like, even expand on this story even further. Whereas it feels like all of the components that needed to make this moment super epic fell flat. And so even though I think you wouldn't have to change almost anything about this scene in particular, like, this scene in a vacuum is great, but it needs all of those component parts to make it, like, meaningful, make it, like, as powerful as it can be. So don't change anything about this scene. Change everything, not change everything, but change a lot of what was happening beforehand, and then keep this scene as it is, and this scene takes on a whole new meaning.
I think if you get rid of the brother connection, and you also get rid of the line, finish it, or at the very least, Christoph Waltz plays it less Joker. Because he plays it as the way that Joker does with the whole, like, come on, hit me, kill me, that kind of thing. Like, finish it, go ahead and kill me, that sort of thing. Because he's not choosing I won't even kill the Joker to sacrifice my moral code theory. He's choosing to show Madeleine that he still has a soul. And that he's worthy of her love and he's capable of changing. And I think with the finish it sets it up as, like, you won't, kind of a thing. And I think it should be more of a regular Blofeld, not my brother Blofeld, just being like, I wouldn't use this line. Again, I'd workshop it. I'd try to figure out something better if I was actually writing this instead of just saying something on a whim on a podcast, but more of the, like, go ahead and do what you're told, like, company man, go ahead and kill me kind of, you're just the blunt instrument for them type of people. You're going to keep doing this. There's going to be another guy like me. Like, that kind of more of a vibe. And Bond just being like, I'm choosing to walk away.
Yeah. I mean, I would go along similar vibe. I would just, like, with me, I'd just keep it simple. It's like, I'd almost say, like, what are you waiting for? This is what you do.
Yeah, like, that could be, or just, like, go along with it. Like, you got me, kill me. Not to finish it. You're going to finish it? Like, it could just be done so much better. Even just the way that it is, though, if they wouldn't have the Oberhauser thing, it still would be better. But it is what it is. He tosses the gun away. And M ends up arresting him.
Yeah, that really worked out well last time with Silver.
Yeah, with Mr. White.
Mm-hmm.
Capping off the film, Bond heads to Q Branch, and Q says, "I thought that you'd gone." And Bond says, "Well, there's just one thing I need." Which is odd that that's the last thing that he says, if this would have been the last Craig film. It's the car. He's back in the car. So people are like, the car's back, whatever. And Madeleine's in the car as well. They smile. They drive off. And the Bond theme kicks in. There's your potential end of the franchise.
End of this iteration of the franchise. I can't see the franchise ever ending.
I mean, it could have been. And it still could,
Would've
kind of,
sucked.
after. But I mean, I wouldn't want it to be the case, yeah.
Would have sucked. And I want none of your theories for No Time to Die to be true, so...
Oh, me
fuck
too.
that.
I don't want any of that, yeah. You know what I want for No Time to Die? Well, we'll talk about it. We might do a whole podcast about, like, what do we want for No Time to Die or something. I'll hold off on that. But they do still put the James Bond will return at the end, just in case. But it's kind of weird. If you listen back to the end credits, I know that you guys didn't bother doing that, because why would you, you know? The score for it that they choose to end the end credits is the really dark and sad song. Instead of ending as, like, the way that some of the other ones have, where it's just like, you know, like da 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 kind of thing. Like, some of the other ones are just sort of like, you know, we end on the love theme, and, you know, da 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 da. It's the end of the Bond film, where he's got a powerful weapon. Da 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 da. Let's go to the next film. This ends in a way where the music is just like depressing. So I'm watching it in the theater. At this point, well beyond this point, I got used to the idea of credit cookies and everything, and credit sequences. So I was always just like, all right, I wait until the end. I've been doing that since Star Wars, because I'm just like, I want to listen to the music and hear how they end. I mean, if you check out The Phantom Menace, the very last thing in The Phantom Menace is where you're like, because he's going to be Vader, that kind of thing. So I'm watching this in the theater, and I'm like, I don't know how to process this. And then it's just this sad music, and everybody goes like, all right, you ready to leave? And just like walk outside and, you know, hang out in front of the movie theater and talk about the movie. And I'm just like, is that the end of the series? Blofeld is his brother. He went off with Madeleine, who's a lesser Tracy. And it ends with sad music. I love the music, by the way. It's one of the only pieces of score from the film that I really like, but it gave me weird vibes of just being like, oh man, I feel so drained and hollow and empty and disappointed and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm very glad it's not the end.
No. Yeah, it's good. It's good that they have a chance to hopefully build on some of the positives of this movie with one final effort.
With all of these Bond films, especially the middle of the road ones, I take solace in the fact that, well, there's another one, you know? And with this one, there won't be for a while. So it would have sucked if this was just the end overall, because it would just be like, I've seen better. They've done better. They could have ended it better.
You guys are going to have to do the thing that I've done for the past, 20 plus years of, well, that can't be the end of it. And then you go, well, when's the next one coming out? I don't know. What is it? What's it going to be? And then you just, after a couple of years, you go, you're on pause again. Oh, come on. Or you wait 13 years for a gun barrel, and you go, fuck! Eventually when it happens, you're like, half my life's gone by and I got a gun barrel again. Like that kind of thing. It's going to be weird if you guys watch No Time to Die, and then eventually when they start announcing like who, if they do end up having another James Bond, and it'll be more like, oh, this guy's not Bond. Or like, like the same kind of reactions that a lot of people have with these. You're indoctrinated now.
Mm-hmm.
One of us.
I kind of feel like, obviously, the journey has been a big, commitment and gone through all this stuff. But I don't feel like I don't feel like I've ever been kind of set in a way like I need a Bond movie to be like this. I've always just taken the attitude of like I just want it to be good, and so that's why I don't get hung up on the tropes like the where the gun barrel is and stuff like that, or the song needs to be like this type of thing, and I don't need it. Like it just. I want this. I want whatever the new iteration of Bond to take it in a direction that we haven't seen before. Just like the same, like pretty much any new evolution of franchise. I don't want whoever the next Bond is to make me feel like, oh, this is another Brosnan, or this is another Moore, or something like that. I want it to be, oh, this Bond is another whoever the Bond is. I want them to take their own interpretation of the character and evolve on it.
Inherently, you're not as big of a movie fan.
No.
In comparison. Whereas, like, somebody like me, I'm like, that's my number one, like, form of entertainment, and, like, I get super big on, like, franchise kind of things and stuff, and Rob, too, his own things that he's as much of a fan of and everything, too, where it's just kind of like there's a Batman thing coming out, cool. Like, checking out Batman. Wait, that's not Batman, like that kind of thing, like.
Yeah, and, I get like that with really weird stuff. And we're seeing a lot of reboots of a lot of IPs. And I think that, to Callum's point about needing to do something different, that's all going to depend on the culture that it's born in, because these movies, especially this one, a lot of nostalgia. Nostalgia is very hot. We have to get to the point where creators aren't just going, well, let's do Craig, but with a woman. Like, let's do Connery again, but now it's a black guy. Like they got to do something different outside of just, let's take formula, tweak one element, and call it our own.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
So we will, of course, break down our predictions for No Time to Die in some fashion. We'll recap this series with our tier list type stuff going on forward. But we have to recap this film. We've got the music, Writings on the Wall, which I think overall is a thumbs up. It's not one of my favorites, but it's a thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up for the musical side.
I'd say so.
We've got the gadgets, which are the tracking chip in the arm, which is, we're so above this, but we'll just do the same thing that we did before. The explosive Omega watch and the car. I give it more of a thumbs up than a thumbs down, but I don't give it an enthusiastic thumbs up. It's kind of an Orange Cassidy thumbs up.
Yeah,
I'd agree. Same.
The Bond girls, 3 of them in this one. We have Estrella, who is really inconsequential, so, can't really give her much of a, super duper high thumbs up, but at the same time, not wrong with her, right?
Yeah. She played her role.
Yeah, I can't say that she was given much to work with, so.
We've got Sciarra, who ultimately, she doesn't have the biggest effect on the plot and everything like that, but I give her a thumbs up.
I'd agree.
I got to give a thumbs down. I just don't think that for what she ends up doing in the movie, it's worth having her there in the first place.
I'm going to see where you have her ranked.
Oh, I think it's probably around about the Strawberry Fields range.
Let's see here.
Below Miss Tara Row, ahead of Molly Warmflash at number 52 or something like that, I think.
You have her actually in the exact same spot that I do.
All right.
That's weird. Because our lists are very different.
You have more listed and stuff like that. I kind of hit her at the point where it just goes like, well, she has some involvement in the plot, but it's like one of the weakest aspects of that.
I've got her currently right now, which I've been adjusting some people here and there. I've got her above Seydoux, the belly dancer in The Man with the Golden Gun. and I've got her below Stacey Sutton. But I might bump her a little bit up. I don't know. I can't bump her too much higher. I think if anything, I'll probably stop her at below Kissy Suzuki. Maybe above Ruby Bartlett. I don't know. We'll see. I know Rob hasn't done his ranking list yet, but relatively speaking, where would you put Sciarra, do you think?
Low mid.
Now,
I couldn't tell you, because there's a lot of women's I couldn't tell you where, but low mid range.
Madeleine I have higher. I've got her at 25 at the moment. But then again, there's big gaps between, top 5, top 10, top 20 kind of a deal. That's a lot higher than I originally thought. I did a list of this prior to this. I mentioned that before. I'll give a big breakdown eventually when we do our tier list about like how things were different from the one than the other thing. But Madeleine, for instance, on my my previous list before rewatching all these films, she was ranked. Let me see here. Where is Madeleine on this list? She was ranked lower than Paula Ivanova. She was just one spot above Dr. Christmas Jones. And I had her even below Strawberry Fields. I had her below, I had her below quite a bit of people. I had her probably around like the 30-something range instead of the late 20s. So she's gone up a little bit, but I still think she's a little problematic. And she might go up quite a bit after No Time to Die.
We'll see.
Yeah, I have.
Go ahead.
I have her currently positioned at 18, I think. Even though I'm not like super enamored with the character, and there's a lot of problems with the relationship aspect of it, which I feel need to be addressed going forward. You can't, I guess, just by the nature of the way the movie goes, you can't deny that she's an important Bond girl. So I feel like that needs to be taken into account, just overall significance, and I think that outweighs her. That weighs her well in her favour compared to a lot of other Bond girls in the past, which have been quite, I don't want to say disposable, but just like there for the one-off thing where she feels like she's going to matter a lot more going forward.
Yeah, she would be right now center, but if they do it right in No Time to Die, maybe she is like way in the top tier. They'd have to really get it right.
Generally speaking, I give them about a middling thumb. I don't go thumbs up or thumbs down in a lot of ways. I think that, like, I don't know. I guess I go more thumbs up than thumbs down, but it's just very, very problematic with a thumbs up. For the overall girls, I mean.
It's one of those things where I think like overall with girls, I'd probably give more of a thumbs in the middle and stuff like that. It just feels like I feel it's weird. It's basically like that she has so much more potential than she delivers, the character itself. But I don't think like I can still knock her down significantly just because I feel like it's wasted potential. Gonna have to judge what there is at the very least, and I still think that is still a significant. Well, she's still positioned as a significant Bond girl, but it could be done. Like if it's done perfectly, it's one of the top Bond girls. They build the character correctly, and they cast it with the right person. Then it has the potential to be one of the top Bond girls in the entire franchise. Because of the story they can tell with it, but they don't tell that. So the fact that it's actually down, even reasonably high for us, like in the even mid-20s, late teens, that sort of thing, is still a bit of indictment on a character that could has the potential to be a slam dunk.
She should have been top 5.
If that's the story you're trying to tell, with her being like the one that Bond essentially leaves everything for, she should be top 5.
On the allies, we've got Moneypenny, Q, M, previous M, kind of. and Tanner. Thumbs up all around for me.
Yeah, they all play their roles. Yeah.
On the villains, we've got Marco Sciarra, Mr. White, kind of an ally. He's kind of in a weird spot. We got Max Denbigh, C. We got Hinks. We've got Blofeld, Oberhauser. Thumbs down.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, I think that there's a lot of the villains could be more fleshed out. And again, the whole Blofeld connection with Bond is just like unnecessarily overdone and creates more problems than it does add intrigue to the story.
So then we got the action and the humor. I think the humor is mostly a thumbs down, and the action is mostly a thumbs up, but not a huge thumbs up.
I'm pretty happy to give a thumbs up to both on that. I feel like there's enough good action scenes, and even though I think that they stretch into the bewildering a little bit more than they have done in the past few movies, I still think overall it at least captures your attention, particularly like the train fight scene. And I'm a fan of the humor in it. It's more deadpan than maybe some of the other movies in the past, but I feel like it's still there, and I still enjoy it when it crops up.
Yeah, actions. At this point, the action is probably the strong suit of these films. The humor is sparing, but when it's there and it's Bond pointing a gun at a mouse, it makes me laugh. So, thumbs up.
It's a good thing he didn't just shoot it, right? That would have been like, go from a funny scene to just like horrifying. God damn, James, what the hell are you shooting this poor little rat for? So then overall, we gotta give our official stamp on this. Is it shaken or is it stirred? It's tough.
I don't want to give it. It's because it's an unfinished drink. It's like, yeah, it's a complete movie, but we don't know what the true ramifications of it are going to be until No Time to Die. I feel right now, considering where I have it positioned and stuff like that, I'm going to give it shaken because for the most part I enjoyed the 2.5 hours that I watched. But it's one of those shakens where you feel like they should have shook it a few more times before pouring it out.
Yeah, like, not shaken enough.
Yeah.
But definitely shake.
Like when they say shake well on a container and you just don't, you're like, it jostled around a little bit in the car. It's fine. Yeah. It's a very like fledgling shaken to me. We have it around the same range. Currently, our rankings for this one, you guys have it both at 14. I've got it at 16. And it's sort of around the same range as some other ones for us. Like, it's funny, mostly we've got some variety about the way that some of these go. Like, I've got Octopussy around it. Rob's got Octopussy way at the bottom, the second to last. Callum's got it a little bit closer to mine, but still lower. But we all have A View to a Kill right next to this. Like, I've got this below A View to a Kill. Rob's got it 2 spots above A View to a Kill, and Callum's got it 1 spot above. So we're kind of looking at it the way that we're looking at A View to a Kill, which is like, A View to a Kill is fun, but it's dumb. And Spectre is an easy watch, but it's flawed.
It's weird, like in the same way that it's like View to a Kill is like, it's just fun, but it's if you just take the like goggles off, like this was a lot of fun to watch, but it's just like it's not a good movie.
You take those big goggles he's wearing in the the one scene.
Yeah, with Spectre, I feel like this is a good movie that should have been a great movie, and that's probably the biggest like thing that I'd put it with this. Like it's an easy watch and it is good. Like you can't say that. I don't think you can strictly say that it's a. People can, obviously they have their own interpretations of it, but I don't think it's a bad movie. But I feel like there were foundations there for a great movie, and it didn't come through.
Did you find it hard to rank, Rob?
Yes, I did. In fact, I took a lot of time to really think about it and kind of see where you guys had it, because we've had similar tastes. There's some outliers like On Her Majesty's Secret Service or Octopussy, but I knew it wasn't like the way I saw Octopussy, but I also wasn't in love with this film. And overall, I decided to keep it in the middle, because you don't really, like Callum keeps saying, you don't really know how this is going to turn out. Maybe we watch No Time to Die and that sucks, so we're like, you know what, in retrospect, fuck this movie.
Right, yeah. It might go real down, but it might go kind of high up. Not like super high. It's not going to be like, suddenly this is better than Casino Royale or something, but like, it might bump up a little bit. I could see myself eventually putting it past like Thunderball on my list, maybe up like 3 spots.
It's all going to depend on how No Time to Die is when it comes out, if it ever does.
Yeah, that's true. So that's our breakdown of that. Obviously, of course, we want to know what you guys have to say. So as I mentioned before, drop your comments below. Tell us your thoughts on the film. And if you want to kind of keep things going on here, we will have some other stuff going on that I'll tell you about in a minute. But before we get into what's going on after this, let me just round things out with some plugs. If you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, subscribe, because why not? You should. And then you'll get these like email alerts if you notify yourself with those about whatever happens next. But you should be following us on Facebook and Twitter. You should be checking out Smart Guy Moment if you're into pro wrestling. You should be hitting up the merchandise shops on TeePublic and Redbubble, especially because more and more of these designs keep getting taken down. So if you see something you're interested in, pick it up as soon as you can. It might not be there tomorrow. Then you should also be following what we're doing on our individual stuff and the way that we cross over with some other things here and there too. If you want to follow me, I'm at Tony Mango, spelled out like the toe and knee and mango, or mango. And you can follow these guys on their accounts. Callum,
yeah.
Rob,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. Look, I'm at Dude Felice on every social media platform. So if you want to follow me, you can hit me up there. Check out everything I'm doing. If you like the pro wrestling side of things, over on Fightful.com and WrestleZone.com. And check out all the wonderful retro podcasts that Callum and I have done on the Spark Out Moment side of things. But I'm going to let Callum tell you more about that.
Yeah, so obviously on the Smart Guy Moment side of things, me and Rob have done a few like retro-based wrestling series, primarily going towards the end of the Attitude Era, start of the Ruthless Aggression Era. So if you're interested in learning more about the years like 2001, 2002, early 2003, then you want to be checking out both 2001 A Wrestling Odyssey and the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast over on the Smart Guy Moment channel, whether it's on YouTube or the podcast feed. It's all there in the archives. And you can also check out the power rankings, all the other weekly content going up on the Smart Guy Moment website, and follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14.
Yeah, if you can't get enough of Bautista, there's a lot more Bautista over on Smart Guy Moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, involving a lot of Reverend Devon as well. So if that doesn't get your gears going, then I don't know what will.
Bautista as a mute who just smashes things. I think you'll like his Deacon days.
There's a big difference between when he puts his thumb up and his thumb down versus when he puts both of his thumbs in somebody's eyeballs and then snaps their neck. So, yeah, that's it. James Bond and the Review to Kill podcast will return with No Time to Die? Not really. It's coming out in a few more months.
Well, we will. We will return with No Time to Die.
Technically speaking, we will return to No Time to Die. It's just going to happen in November, I think is when it comes out. November 9th.
We're on a giant hiatus now.
Yeah, we're in a holding pattern. We do have, we're recording this right now, for instance, to let you know, we've been recording these in advance. We've been telling you here and there on the 22nd of June. So by the time you're hearing this, that time's passed. My birthday's passed at that point. Not that that's like something you're setting your calendar to. And we're well into July, and then it'll be kind of, technically speaking, for you guys hearing it, it's going to be like, well, there's only August, September, October, and then we get into November. I don't remember when it comes out in November. I think it's probably middle range, usually closer to Thanksgiving or so. But that's still, just that alone, 4 months. So we've got some time to kill. We don't have to necessarily do anything, but we've been having fun and we've got ideas. So there is the pick your poison tier if you want to make sure we do stuff. And this is how I'm kind of approaching it at the moment. Things might change and we might not do this necessarily the way that it is, but it's kind of all going to depend on scheduling, and it's going to depend on how motivated we are to do things and stuff. But what we've been doing is watching a film, and we've been breaking it down in as thoroughly as we possibly can for these past 24 weeks. And it takes a lot of time to do that, and funny enough, because I'm watching these movies 2 to 3 times over. I'm stopping it every 20 seconds to add some notes and stuff. But we don't have to do that for any other ones, so it's going to be a little bit easier for us to kind of get it into our schedule. But we also have pay-per-view stuff coming up, and we also going to take a little bit of a break from some things too, instead of just having necessarily to do this week by week. Current game plan that I've got, again, may change. Card subject to change. Next week or so, we're going to record a recap. And we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the series. We're going to give you our definitive tier lists of what we rank everything. So it might not be a full week when we record this. It might be 2 weeks. It might be something like that. I'm going to give these guys time to make their lists. I'm going to look through mine again. I'm going to compare things. I'm going to add some more notes. And maybe we'll do it through some kind of a visual method with tier ranking stuff. Maybe we'll just keep it with the spreadsheets. We'll see. But we're going to recap stuff, talk about things like, man, how great was it when this character popped up? And, who's your favorite Felix Leiter? Who's your favorite Bond at this point? Because you've watched them all. So you got a favorite Bond at this point, most likely. And, pick some of your favorite gadgets. And, just kind of we went on this long journey. Let's recap it and listen to the song Graduation by Vitamin C. And at some point, I want to do a look forward to No Time to Die and projections for the series going beyond that point. If we end up, getting any kind of notice about anything, we'll talk about that. Maybe if they announce, hey, we've got a new Bond film in the works and we're going to do this and we're going to fast track it and whatever. I don't know, whatever it might be. Who knows what's going to happen. We may or may not watch Never Say Never Again. We may or may not watch Casino Royale 1967. Barry Nelson Casino Royale special. One thing we know that we want to do is watch the Austin Powers films. But with that, we're not going to do the Review to a Kill breakdown. We're not going to, and at this point in the movie, he makes this joke because it just doesn't work. You can't really. It's going to be fan tracks, which if you don't know, those are audio commentary tracks. So what we'll do is, and that's going to be a hell of a lot easier when it comes to prep time and stuff. We're going to watch the movies, just watching them, and we're going to do the audio commentary track that goes along with it, just like all the other fan tracks. So we'll joke about that, and then we'll probably set aside time after we get done doing the fan tracks to kind of take 15 minutes afterward and just be like, okay, let's talk about how this parodies the franchise, blah, 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 recap stuff. Johnny English is an option. I've seen a recommendation of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I've seen. Didn't make a huge impression on me, but it is a spy thing. And I don't want to take this into the let's talk about everything spy, because that's not what it is. But, there's a chance to talk about some other stuff. I don't want to get into Mission Impossible. I'll say that. The films are great. They get better with each film, essentially. But I feel like that needs to be separate. I feel like the Bourne films need to be separate. I've only seen the first Bourne film. But you could always do the requests on the Pick Your Poison tier, too. You could always make sure that these things
it's not to say that we wouldn't watch Mission Impossible if you give some money, or we wouldn't watch the the Bourne series.
I mean, like I said, the Mission Impossible films are great. So, I just kind of feel like that's more of its own separate thing. And it's kind of weird for me to be like, the next episode of A Review to a Kill is, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It's just kind of like, shouldn't that be more like a Mission Impossible podcast? I don't know. Still, current game plan, next one is going to do the tier list. That's why I'm not giving you the way that everything is right now. Eventually, we're going to get No Time to Die, and eventually we'll talk about it when it happens. But I guess we'll see you when we see you. Drop your comments below and tell us what you think you want us to do going forward, and we'll factor that all in. And by the time you're listening to this, I'm sure we'll have had some kind of a plan with some things. Maybe we'll have already done the fan tracks by now. I don't know. We might end up knocking them out, like the 3 of them in 1 week, for all we know. We'll see. But however is happening, it'll happen here on fanboysanonymous.com. So if you are subscribed, you follow us, and you stay tuned, then you'll see it when it's up. So James Bond and the Review to a Kill podcast will return with episode 0025.